stand for the pledge of allegiance to our flag, and Councilor Favor, would you lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Proctor,
Present.
Counselor Miller,
Here.
Counselor Weaver,
Here.
Counselor Langsdorf. Here. Mayor, you have a quorum.
First item on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Counselor Weaver,
Are you gonna read it?
no, we're just approving the agenda.
Oh, aye.
Counselor Miller,
Aye.
Counselor Proctor,
Aye.
Counselor Langsdorf. Aye. Motion carries.
Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we move letter A, approval of the governing body minutes from the consent agenda to the regular agenda for discussion and possible approval. I also, in addition to that, meant that we do approve the workshop minutes at this time for October 15 and September 9.
Is there a second?
I'll
Counselor?
second it. I'll second.
So you're approving October 15th and September 9th? Correct. Counselor Proctor,
Aye.
Counselor Miller,
Aye.
Counselor Weaver.
Aye.
Counselor Latham. I just want to clarify that we're moving everything else to the regular agenda for discussion. Yes. Okay. Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is public input. Have anyone that would like to address the governing body? Ms. Richardson. Richardson.
No, I was going to transfer.
Mayor, council, my name is Bonnie Richardson. This year I've been in Rudolph's Downs 50 years.
That's what we're standing on.
And someday I'm hoping that we'll get the trash picked up.
You need to have a little patience.
A little patience is more than-
50 years is, okay, go ahead.
So last time I talked to council, it was because I had some limbs on the highway between my place and the church. And they had been there for several months and Green Tree told me they would pick them up. So, they didn't pick them up.
They didn't?
And they told me that I had to clean the trash out of there because they can't pick up trash. Well, that trash came from the winds, which happened to blow from west to east and pick up papers that end up in the damn pile. So I paid a man to clean up the limbs, clean the trash out of the limbs. And Green Tree assured me that those limbs would be picked up in August. Well, that didn't happen. So September, maybe the end of September, a truck came by and they picked up the limbs off the top of the pile. But guess what? There was more trash underneath because the wind didn't stop. So they didn't pick up the rest of it. So eventually, because I am on the highway and those limbs are on the highway, there are dozens and dozens of trucks and cars and everybody else that goes up and down that highway. I don't want them to see that. So I paid somebody to carry out the limbs. And now Green Tree doesn't have to worry about it this year anymore. Thank you.
Wow.
Say something.
I would remind the public that Counselor Baber is our representative to Green Tree. And sometime he has information.
Nice talk.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, they told me they picked you up.
They said, they gave us
I
a-
went and threw a fit down there and they said they come and took care of you.
They picked up the top part of the limbs that didn't have any paper underneath. And told me that well, they actually talked to one of my employees down there. And they said that I had to get that trash out of there. And rather than pay another person to clean out that trash again, I paid to have the limbs carried off. They're good people. I like them. I like all of them. But they did not carry off my limbs.
They told me they did.
They got a picture of it after she paid for it.
Yeah, because I took those pictures in there that day whenever I got your address and everything. And I went in there and they told me they picked it up. I'm sorry that it,
When you're having a problem, Richardson, I think if you would contact Counselor Baber, our representative. Actually, and thank you, Counselor, for saying, may I, we're really not supposed to interact.
I know.
Well, you were right, and I
I just wanted to, I hate to leave
you
people
were,
hanging.
you were correct, and shouldn't do that, but I'm walking on. Really, public input is for you to just address a governing body and for us not to respond, but this was just too convenient, but thanks.
No, no worries.
Anyone else? Bonnie, were you through?
Yes, sir.
I'm Beth Miller and I've been here for about half as long as Bonnie. But what I'm here for today, apparently there is a consideration of change in zoning for a 6-acre tract. I'm not sure of all the details, but if my understanding is correct, they're considering a change to AR zoning. This is Brother Joyce's property, it used to be, and then I think his nephew inherited it. So my concern is,
Beth, if that matter's on the agenda, it would be more appropriate that you speak at the time.
oh, so I'm allowed to do that outside of public comment?
Sure.
Oh, sweet. We'll do that.
Public hearing.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. You're going to hear something from me. I was seen the vigil on Gary Williams, resident of the city of Rio
For
Sedan.
the record,
Got it covered.
state your name.
Yes, Gary Williams, okay. Big G, big Bill, big Will. You know, I'm feeling voter remorse. Came into November last year to select 3 council members, 1 established and 2 new ones, to bring back a little bit of the respect and dignity of the council from the previous council. And it's been 10 months and that hasn't happened. And I'm just kind of frustrated myself to seeing the inconsistency and the unwillingness to cooperate, to be buds, to hang out, do what's best for us. But it's not going on, it's not happening. You're still doing this. You're still doing this, man. Step up, man. I mean, when you have a city employee taking a councilor to court for that, that's unreal. When you have a counselor that has a verbal and possible physical encounter with a citizen, that's unacceptable. The whole reason you're here is to represent us, to make decisions that will benefit us in the future. And right now, it all is kind of just laying like we're stuck in the mud and we're not moving, we're not going anywhere in no direction. Damn it, people, come on. I mean, I'm not saying when I was mayor that everything was perfect, but at least there was a movement in how we ran the city and how things got done. Not blaming the mayor on this, I'm blaming the council on this, because you're supposed to be our representatives. We are supposed to be comfortable with the decisions that you make, because we know, hopefully, it will give us what we need to have, and that's, for one thing, quality of life, and one thing, safety, which unfortunately right now, we are not into that high mode of safety because of where our police department is. But listen, man, come on, get it on and make it happen. Let's be respectful to each other. and let's be tolerant of each other. And then work for us out here, good people, damn it. Years, good people that want to be here, that want to live here and enjoy what it means to be a Ruidoso Downs resident. And just to repeat, just in case you didn't hear it, Gary Williams, resident of City of Ruidoso. Catch it.
Okay, Mayor,
And you know, and
And I-
I'll,
and I say-
I don't mind response. Let's do it.
no, I'm just gonna say, Mayor, once you're mayor, you're always a mayor. Mayor, thank you.
Well, Mayor, thank you. And keep doing it, man. You got another year. You better push it. You better push it. Come on, no, what's that? What are you doing?
Okay, is there anyone else? No, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to address the governing body? Okay. Okay, that takes us to councilors' comments.
No, if it's not, something grossly wrong.
It's not blowing.
Fine. On his mail.
What's the matter?
It's too hot in here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, if it's on, if you have the AC set at 80, it needs to come down.
It's pretty hot, and I'll tell you what, for those of us that have bad allergies, you have people with their eyes burn. I don't have that much problem. But when it gets hot, these allergies, I'll start coughing all night. I'm tired already before we start. And this heat in here is not good.
The AC.
I was hot at Bruce's all day. Tonight I put a t-shirt
Okay, we've already had comments by the counselors. They said it's too hot. Is there anything else?
on.
Councilor, nobody wants to talk? I'd like to address Mayor Williams. Mayor Williams, thank you for your comments, but the city councilors, we made promises to the people, promises we'd like to make. But monthly, we submit agenda requests that are denied. I've got a stack of them. I can show you that they're all denied. The councilors are a cohesive unit. This governing body of course, city councilors are cohesive. You've got a mayor who is behaving like a dictator. He has failed to bring new names after we didn't confirm some individuals in January. And we're doing everything we can, but we just have no cooperation from the mayor, and we can't do anything. We can't get on the agenda. We can't say what we want to say. We can't do what we need to do unless it's on the agenda.
Any other counselors' comments?
Wouldn't do any good.
Okay. Mayor has none. I'm not even going to respond to that. Next item is the public hearing, and there's two parts to that, A and B. Item A is the planning and zoning case 2024-RZ8. Zoning change request from an R1 to an AR1 at the property located at 110 Hill Drive in Ruidoso Downs, New Mexico, 88346, which is located in an R1 zoning district.
Donna? Can you come up? Sure.
Yeah, Betty and Billy mixed up all the time. So.
Let's wait a little. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order, and Mrs. Richardson, you can go ahead if you've got more information.
I was just
You're
gonna
not
say,
on. You're not on. It is on. Don't you usually have a picture? You don't have to have a picture. It's on.
so, that's your case.
Yes,
And why do you want it rezoned?
so that we have more use of the property. That we have numerous people that would like to expand. And we haven't been even able to really know what it was, because when Dad first got his property, he had the top off Hill Drive as commercial. Because Mr. Joyce used to have those single wides across there that he rented. And that's how Dad had it listed, and then the bottom part of it as residential. So that's kind of how we were presenting it. And people were more interested in them because they had more options for 6 acres. And now they're like, we can just have one house. We can't even have a horse or anything there. And so that is a lot of what people have represented to us that love the property.
Is there anybody else? Is that all that you have on?
There's some other folks that,
Now, you can't tell me what other people said, because if they're
No.
not here to say it themselves, you can't put it on the record.
well, we've already gone through the, restrictions. And so nobody can put an RV. People from Texas, have come up, wanted to put RVs with a nice home in between. And, there's just been lots of ideas that have been thrown at us as agents that, we're like, okay, well, you can't do that anymore. You can only do one house. And they're like, well, that won't work for us.
Yes, ma'am.
John, are we allowed to ask the question of this notice?
Hang on, let me go ahead and get the rest of the public comment.
Okay, and then we go back later.
So, Beth, you had a comment?
I do. Hi,
Donda.
Donda.
Hi there.
Donda, did you go to school with Blaine or was it your sister?
It was my aunt.
Ah,
It was Dad's little sister.
Blaine?
Blaine and Ginger were in the same.
Okay, that was your aunt. Okay, but she's almost your age.
Yeah, she
Okay.
is.
So my concern is, so this property, here's Highway 70. Here is a ravine. And this property is pretty vertical. But my main concern is there's 6 acres. If you change it, if I'm not mistaken, one of the members of the Planning and Zoning Committee told me that you are allowed 2 horses per acre. So that's 12 horses per acre. If you set that precedent, there is an abutting property owned by the sister's family. If you set that precedent, these folks could also do the same thing, which in theory could allow 24 horses in a neighborhood. So that's a concern of mine. And that's pretty much it.
Anybody
Okay,
else?
wait, Sid. Is it okay if I make a comment to that?
Sure.
Okay. When,
Did you used to teach?
no,
We just wanted to sit. Was a-
oh, it's still there. Because I just read her be right
We're
here.
real
It's like,
together.
yes, we are.
It's all good.
But with the 6 acres, most of that is ravine.
Yeah,
So there's not a lot that you
it's
can
not
do
as
with
buildable
that.
as you were saying.
Well, it really is. Have you driven down
I walked it. I live there,
Oh.
girl. I'm the one at the hill.
there? Because I just drove down
It's
there.
supposed to be question and answer, not
So,
discussion.
But there is lots of places down there to build.
You would have to build a very small house, Donda. About as big as this right here.
No, you could do long ways on as you go down the road off the highway instead of coming out. And it's right behind
There's a huge-
Zia Natural Gas.
Can I leave this where we all disagree on
Yes.
Okay.
the issue, because
Yes.
otherwise this can go
Take
on.
it. It's not-
You're Exactly right. Good
Because it's not
point.
residential. Okay.
Anybody else want to
He's
address?
back. Do we have a representative of the, yes,
I don't see any.
We do.
Yes.
We have, the chairman and Celeste, and then Jeanette. Jeanette.
good evening, hello. Hello, ding ding.
Hello, good evening.
Okay, thank you. Could you do me a favor and read the R1 and read the AR1 zoning? I get an idea exactly what each one is and the restrictions per each one. Is that possible?
See, I lived 28 years, the property was for sale,
Yeah.
never moved. She have to.
Another person.
We're trying to get an answer on that, Beth.
He's looking it up. I don't know.
Celeste, did y'all hear his question?
I think it's directed to Jeanette.
We did. I think Jeanette's probably looking it up right now, so.
I just for my own personal, I'm not totally familiar. We're talking about down there, I just go with what she said because obviously she knows more about it. But I just wanted to make sure to understand that when you talk about the zoning within the city, it's all been specifically identified in the areas of the city. If you remember back in, it's been a few years, I was the mayor then, that they had a request to put a C2 into Harris Lane, which is an R1, to open up a business within a home on that particular street. People in that neighborhood came out in opposition to it because the fact that the possibility of the neighborhood being overrun by people that want to come to this business and possibly safety issues with the kids and everything like that. And for the fact that C2 is designed to be in the locations of the city that would benefit the owners when they're talking about attracting businesses to their facilities or their businesses as a whole. And it was shut down and it was a good call because like anything else, AR1, where's the only location in AR1? Everybody know the city?
There's three,
Where are you?
there's 3 or 4.
Where?
So there's one north of town where our chairman Luther Light lives, north of the river.
Got it?
That's AR1. I mean, yeah, AR1, the area of Riodoso Gardens, sometimes called Spaghetti Flats, is AR1.
No. It's always called spaghetti.
Okay. I prefer the garden. There's some AR1 on the south side of town, up above where the mayor lives. And we're
What
like
lane?
grandfathered in
What lane?
type horses.
Got
And I think there's one more somewhere else, but mostly the AR1 is on the outskirts of our town where they butt up against the county.
Again, you've seen that the locations where they're located at, where they're located at is specific for an area where you could have the type of animals, let's say horses in particular. And Spaghetti Flats being where it's at, Wood Lane where it's at, are ideal locations for AR. When you're talking about bringing an AR into a residential area next to where people are living, kids are living and all this. And the possibility of what occurs from that is kind of defeating the purpose of why we have the zoning in our city. And we need to be able to understand it. If they give us the definitions of what those two are, then I'll reassess my opinion about that. I know what they are, but I want it to be brought out to where everybody here can understand what it is.
Well, then you said you didn't understand where this was at. It's the natural gas sits right here and the racetrack and everything's right across the street.
East and West Circle is right behind it with a very large neighborhood and all that area around Turkey Canyon is neighborhood. Yeah,
It's a ways.
not really, it abuts it, it's right on the road. If you look at it touches it, but the flags out
On the
there were
very
been
back. Well,
surveyed.
this
Yeah,
comes
I
this
know.
way of it.
I know where it is.
Jeanette,
Yes, can you guys
are
hear
you
me?
still there?
Thank you.
She said something.
If she
Can you
doesn't
guys hear
have,
me?
I have.
You got it right here.
Yes, they can hear you.
Okay, good. So the purpose for AR1 is to allow agriculture uses such as farming, ranching, and single-family attached dwellings and related complementary uses. The district is intended to be rural in character. No confined animal feeding operations are permitted, but they do allow livestock.
Excuse me, if I may, is there a definition of livestock? That covers a broad range.
Pigs, cows.
Yes, and it does allow horses is included.
And
Livestock
R1,
Yes, livestock is horses are included in the livestock or definition according to our ordinance.
thank you
On
there.
AR. AR, Jeanette, to be clear?
Yes, that was AR1.
Okay, and then so a definition of R1, please.
Okay, so the purpose of R1 single-family residential district is to provide for the development at low density of single-family detached dwellings and directly related accessory uses. The district is intended to be strictly residential in character with a minimum of disturbance due to traffic or overcrowding and shall be developed at a gross residential density of not more than 4 dwellings unit per acre. No livestock, including horses, are permitted in AR1. There you go.
So it currently is an R1? Yes. So it can have 4 dwellings per acre?
No, they can't have horses in R1.
Yes, they can have 4 dwellings per acre.
I was
Yes.
asking about 4 dwellings per acre in the R1, Jeanette. So they currently can have 4 dwellings, so I'm not sure why, I thought you said they couldn't build more than one.
Is the
per
people that
six.
came to us wanted to build a home in the middle with 2 Provost motorhomes over $1 million on each side and have the community.
Oh, Jesus, God almighty. Okay.
You
Well,
wouldn't even see
I'm
it.
gonna let you guys discuss that. All I have to say is I don't agree. For the purposes I stated.
And just one more before I go, and you, so, is what are the considerations if somebody's building there, if this is changed? And the location that it's at, and the possibility of, as they would say, the floodway. Does that impact anything involving having this change to where this would increase the possibility of the structures being on the property or in the location, and the possibility of livestock also being there? Has that been has that been discussed or looked into?
It could be a possibility, but I put them there.
Well, I just wanted to clarify because we don't want to put nobody in danger.
Exactly.
Anywhere in the city, because of this, our zoning change. And again, I would emphasize the zoning was made was designed to ensure that it was a continual location of specifics, would be R1, R2, C1, C2, industrial, whatever it may be. And we need to be able to look carefully to ensure that possibility of being disrupted and utilized by somebody who may come in here to take advantage of the fact that, well, we approved this here in this residential area, can we go and do this in another? And we don't want to go through that process of having to make a decision whether it be pro or con.
Well, whoever was in the planning and zoning meeting. Anybody? Who
They're
was
all
there?
in line.
They're all.
Oh, y'all get, yeah, if I'm wrong, tell me. But like the gentleman said that was read in the meeting, stated that only because of the size of the property, where else, what else are you gonna do with that size of property? And like he stated, it's kind of in a gray area, being in the location it is. Being right behind Zia, right across the street. Is that what was said?
Well, he's on the,
Oh, there he is. Okay.
he's there, and so I let him.
Oh, okay. So am I
Statement.
quoting you wrong?
Luther,
Yeah, I'm here, John.
did you hear Miss Richardson's statement about, what she had understood you had stated at the planning and zoning meeting?
Due to the size
This
of
piece
the
of
property.
property. In our deliberation, It was not a unanimous vote, I will say that, but in our deliberation, the idea is that this property is so large, and it is because of its sort of rural nature and the fact that it's one giant lot and it has a floodway running through it. We didn't find it to be very much different than the AR ones that are on the north side of Parker Road, that are separated by the river from a densely populated mobile home district. And we didn't find it very different from the AR ones up on Woods Lane that are separated by Woods Lane from a residential district. It seemed that perhaps this particular piece of property, even though it would be just a single AR1 in and of itself, did not fit the definition of AR1. So I guess the Planning and Zoning Commission decided that its character could be determined as AR1 if that's what she wanted to zone it for. And I will say that I have, through many years on the Planning and Zoning Commission, I have heard many rezone requests, and I have denied most of them because we do not spot zone in Ruidoso Downs. So we're not going to put one commercial spot in the middle of a residential zone. But in this case, even though it's one lot, it's so big and it's so undeveloped that we thought it could be considered an AR1. So we did recommend that this get rezoned, and passed it along to council. I don't know if that answers all the questions. The other thing that I did hear from questions, I don't know if it was the counselors or if it was the public, but yes, R1 allows for up to 4 dwellings per acre, but it's still only 1 dwelling per lot. So because this is one large lot, even though it's 6 acres, it would only be allowed to have 1 dwelling on it unless it were subdivided.
Isn't that an issue of being subdivided then, Luther?
If they wanted to subdivide it, they could subdivide it, but they would have to go through that process.
Livestock, then we're both.
I think that the idea was that because so much of it is a floodway and is unbuildable, it would not make much sense to subdivide it. And the owner, I believe, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I believe that the owner thought that it would be a more usable property as an AR1 than 2 or 3 R1s.
But you're talking about building several buildings. They're talking about dividing it anyway, Luther. They're talking about, you're saying, you were trying to tell me there was like many different places to build homes on there, and that would.
Well, where we have walked and looked, there's different places.
So
that
are
they
you
can build,
still
not putting multiple ones, just one?
You just want one, but you want to be able to put livestock.
They-
That's a
These
critical
folks
point.
don't, there's 2 people, they don't even want livestock, but
Why are you
the
trying to do?
R1 does not give the option if, say they want to sell it down the road,
What's your point? Where's your goal?
to be able to have livestock if somebody wants.
We don't want it.
It's 6
I don't want it.
acres.
I don't want this.
It's
Behind
6
me.
acres.
And they have a sister has the other 6 acre lot. Luther, if you set this precedent, then the other 6 acre lot, which runs right behind East Circle, can have 12 horses on it, if I'm not mistaken. The brother and the sister own this. If you set that precedent, you will then have the ability to have 24 horses. I don't think this is a good idea.
Yes, ma'am.
Maria, you want to address this?
Yes.
Could you come
So-
forward, please?
Yes.
State-
So Maria Gutierrez, resident. I believe that this is being asked for the sole purpose of sale. I don't see, if it were to build, there would already be permits
They'd already built on it.
that would have already built on it. And she's asking him to build a single family home with 2 mobile homes, correct?
with 2 places for RVs.
So also in a
That was-
residential, even in an AR1, it's not permitted
Right.
according to the ordinance. Then that puts another issue, horses right up to the highway. I have
No, the
horses,
property doesn't go all the way to the
Yes,
highway.
it does.
No.
It most certainly does.
so then that would create another issue in case, and I know horses, they get out when they want to, not when you ask them to. So I think those are my main issues, and aside from if we're changing zones for the sole purpose of resale, then that sets precedent for other people to also ask council to do the same.
Thank you. Anybody else? Wanna
There is
chime-
one more issue, and that's of course effluent materials, 24 of
So
them.
Beth, I can't have you, if you want to address the council, you need to come up and reintroduce yourself.
You got it. Beth Miller, again, here to sit down. So the other issue is you have the potential of 24 horses and materials that come out of them washing down into the waterway because you are in the flood zone at that point. So I do want to mention that.
Anybody else? Anything else? Does anybody from the planning commission, I appreciate y'all attending very much. Does anybody from the planning commission want to weigh in during the public testimony?
Not at this time. I think, what was stated on the record was our findings were part of that record. This
Okay, that was
is
Counselor. Oh,
Beachy Barnes.
Beachy Barnes. Luther?
I would just like to clear up that it would not, like, there would not be 24 horses allowed on that piece of property. There would be at most 12. I think animal ordinance states two horses per acre in AR1.
Beth Miller. Luther, the thing is, what I was trying to explain is this property has an adjoining property, both of which were owned by a brother and a sister. If you allow this, then the other one, you would have set precedent. If the 6 acres adjoining follows that same pattern, you will have 24. You don't currently, you don't have any, but that would be the end result. The other property in question has nobody living on it, nor have they for 20 years. But they have a number of people, that their descendants that have talked about selling. So it very likely could follow suit.
And Donna Richardson, that property would be more commercial because it does border Zia Natural Gas.
Okay.
No.
Joy, hang on.
Joe Jarvis, Public Works Director. She is correct. The property does not border the highway except for where the drainage ditch is under the highway. It is all on Turkey Canyon and Hill Drive. So that's something to think about. And also the ditch that runs through there would carry, if rules weren't imposed, would carry any animal stuff to the next neighbor that we'd have to deal with on the other side.
Yeah.
So there would have to be a stipulation there.
Yeah.
Take care of the floodway.
Thank you, Joey.
So Counselor, and I know, Counselor Lacewell, you wanted to ask a question, Ms. Richardson?
Yeah, so I've already forgot my question, but.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I should say, we're gonna close, Mr. Mayor, close the public hearing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we want to close the public hearing. And I assume we're ready to open it to the council. All right, councils, now it's open for the councilors.
I have a couple of points. The first one is we do have an ordinance about rezoning. And in accordance to our state statutes, we can rezone if we need to, but the changes in zoning classification are for the purpose of meeting the land use needs of the residents of the city. And there are more residents on the side where Miss Miller lives than there will be residents living on that 6 acres. And that, I've been up in Alto a lot at that country club, Alto Country Club, and believe them, they can build vertically. it can happen. So, there's a reason why this property couldn't be subdivided and broken into the minimum number of houses per acre over there. That was it 4 houses per acre? A potential of 24 houses, as long as they don't get in that flood zone. But to spot rezone for the purpose of one person, it's going to negatively affect 2 whole neighborhoods. It is not in keeping with the comprehensive plan for our city. And that's kind of where I'm standing.
Any other councils?
Yes. Judy Miller. I live on East Circle, have for 30 years. And that property's never been used that I can remember of. All I know is there's 90 houses up there. Several of them have contacted me. They're not here. I know one person is sick that wanted to be here tonight. And I don't know how many letters have gone out. Jeanette, can you say how many letters have gone out on this issue to the neighbors?
Yes, 1 second, hold on.
Okay.
I sent out 10 letters within 100 feet of the property.
Within 100 feet, but they
Yes.
all have neighbors up there. They all have neighbors. So there's 90 some houses up there on the hill. And
There's
I
a
know.
big lot next to it that stopped me from achieving on the Heights subdivision.
Okay, well, I would love to hear from those people before we make a decision. There are residences that have been there for years and years. And if they're adjacent to this new zoning or possible new zoning, if they're adjacent to that, I think they have a right to let us know. And I don't think it's been, I don't think they know about it. I've just heard from 2 of them and neither one of them are, well, Beth is here and she lives up there, but there's a lot of people that live right next to that property and it is residential and it's always been residential. And it's one of the biggest subdivisions we have here in Ruidoso Downs. With that is residential only. Our lots are small. They're not great big lots. I don't think anybody can put 2 houses on. But I feel like we need to hear from the people that live up there.
Jeanette?
Yes, Miss Miller. So the lot they want to rezone is 110 Hill Drive, and there's another lot next to it, which is 112, and that lot is what is right next to East Circle. So it's not right directly next to East Circle. It's a 112 and then 110, and you can see it. I provided a map there. It says the City of Ruidoso Downs flood zone map, and you can see that it's only 110 Hill Drive that wants to be rezoned, not 112.
Thank you, Jeanette. I'm
You're
not
welcome.
sure, following my reasoning though, there's 2.
Okay, all right, hold it.
Yeah.
We've closed for the public.
Okay,
The debate from that point of view is over, okay?
Jeanette, I'm gonna text you.
Counselor Proctor, you wanted
Hang on
to,
just a second. Jeanette, did you send out a letter to everybody that you were required to send out to notify them of this zoning change?
Yes, I did. Everyone within 100 feet.
And did you receive any responses?
No, the only response I got was when Tom came by my office, but that was it. No one else.
Tom,
Tom Armstrong, yes.
And they were here for the planning.
right. Okay.
Counselor Proctor wants to address the council.
Okay. To clarify, the horses in Biscotti Flats, but what Ruidoso Gardens, whatever they want to call it. Wood Lane and a couple of places back up on the mountain, they were grandfathered in. And if you want to know what grandfathered in is, it's a person that owns horses in the country. I live in Agua Fria. We just recently in 2004 got pulled into the city. Had I had a horse on my property, which was allowed in the county, then, but not Agua Fria, I could have grandfathered in. So grandfathering in dies when I sell it if I remove the horses. So Wood Lane, everything south of Wood Lane has got horses. Not on the north side of it. That's what was brought in and grandfathered in. Once they remove the animals and they sell the property, the grandfather clause dies. Is that correct, John?
Correct.
Okay, now, I believe that you could probably sell that place, get it rezoned a lot easier than you can ask us to give a AR zoning in a rural area that people do not really want to see it. I've had 3 people call me. Tom Armstrong got a hold of me. Terry Yarborough used to be an employee, lives over there. He works at nights because he's the water producer, supervisor in Ruidoso. And, God, I can't think of the other guy's name now. Anyway, I've had 3 people get a hold of me. They could not be here. Tom couldn't be here because he's sick. Okay, now, if this was to pass, okay, I use the word if this was to pass, there's a possibility of opening up a can of worms you can't get all the worms back into, because once that's zoned, whoever buys it can do whatever the hell they want to do with it. They don't need no permission from us, and we can't stop them. So that's where I want to leave it at. And it's up if the council wants to vote on it tonight, that's fine. If they want to.
Well, that's why the restrictions for AR1 are in there. Correct?
AR1, you can have horses.
Right.
You can have a cow. You can have a pig. You can have a goat. That's livestock.
Right.
Sheep.
Right.
And I mean, if you live below, ma'am, if you was on the north side of the highway and just on flat land down the Spaghetti Flats to the left, to the west side of entering Spaghetti Flats, those people have a hard time cleaning that stuff up, and they're on flat ground. And that just runs across the street. It clogs up everything down there. It makes a mess. The flies are horrendous. The smell is horrendous. And just 4 or 5 months ago, we stopped a horse barn and horses and everything over in Agua Fria because it wasn't zoned for that. I feel that you could probably do better if whoever buys it can come before the council and rezone it and be able to put 7 or 8 or 9 houses out there. And that it is possible. If they could build houses on the side of the mountain over in Agua Fria, the stilts that they use, the stuff they do with it today, they can build there if they wanted it bad enough. But you have to be careful how far down you go to build it. And I'll let Mr. Jarvis answer that question because that is a protected area. That's the flood.
Correct.
This side of town.
Correct.
Well, and I can't even, I asked Jeanette, there's a new floodplain coming out, so who knows how
Right.
wide the new floodplain is gonna
Exactly.
be.
Yep.
That floodplain can take in 3/4 of that property.
So, okay, and
And growing up in the 60s, I lived here. I lived in Ruidoso Downs. I grew up down here. Rode my horses all over Agua Fria. So it's not that I'm not familiar with this area and what flows where. I've been there.
well,
I grew up down there. So I do understand all that. But when you have an R1, 6 acres, that is just not in my growing up with my dad of 60 years in the real estate business. That is not a good use of land.
yeah,
A big thing.
I'm on the wrist, Mayor.
Okay,
Matt, no, I was just gonna make a recommendation. I wouldn't recommend that you kick the can down the road again to continue to another meeting. All the notices have been sent out that could be sent out. We can't change that ordinance that requires this to the people. So I feel confident that Jeanette's followed that ordinance. So those people, if we kick the can down the road to the next meeting, then we'll have to send out all those letters in, and evidently Beth got a letter,
No, never got one.
never got one?
Mm.
Okay.
Because if you zone this, if this changes zoning and this brother or sister decides they're gonna follow the same plan,
Then you're
then it will
concerned,
be too late for me to do anything.
You're
So I'm just
concerned-
ahead of the damn game.
your concern as a president.
I'm concerned about
Let me
reality.
just make this recommendation is before the council for consideration tonight. I would suggest that you either vote in favor of approving the planning and zoning rezone or vote against planning and zoning rezone tonight.
John,
Councilor Miller.
I would like to get the list of the 10 letters and talk to those residents before I just put horses right up against
Well, if we do
our
that,
residential property. I don't know why they're not here. Okay,
there's one more to sign.
I don't know why they're not here, but I would like to see what these people think, and I would like to have them, if they want to object, be able to object to this console. This is all one property. It's all residential, whether they're 100 feet or 200 feet away. I would like to hear from them. And I can't make a decision until we talk to these residents.
Okay, what do you think, Counselor?
Well, if we put this to the next meeting, then it's got to go to 2 weeks back in the paper, from what I understand from the city clerk. Then we have to send the letters out again. And we have to go through this whole thing again, whole public meeting and all that. I'm not saying that I'd be against doing that. But we need to take care of business and move on.
Yes, ma'am.
So I own 4 acres in R1. And let me start off with spot zoning is against our comprehensive plan for our city. Putting taking a residential area right smack in the middle of town and saying, now we're going to make this agriculture, and let agriculture be there, is against our comprehensive. If we do spot zoning, then what Ms. Miller is saying is that's going to open up a whole floodgate of people wanting to spot zone. And I want my 4 acres spot zoned into AR1. I don't want to put horses on it, but I want it AR1. And I swear I'll never put a horse on it, but I want it AR1. But that's not in keeping with the comprehensive plan per se. And so the people who own your property now, I guess they're trying to sell it. Is that right?
Have been for a long time, but they were under the assumption that the upper part of it on Hill Drive was commercial and the lower part was residential. That's when Mr. Joyce and Dad and I sat, and I was sitting there so I could, that he was so confused why it got changed to just R1. And he and Dad both came and talked about it down here, trying to get this figured out so that we knew what we could do with it for sure. But for R1, both of them were like, no.
I understand the confusion too, because it's hard to keep up with the changes that are made and when or why or who was even involved. I'm sure it was before I was a city councilor. But it is R1, and there's a great deal of potential for it as R1. They could subdivide and put more houses in there. There's lots of potential, but personally, I feel that spot rezoning is against our big comprehensive plan. And just basically, I'd be happy to entertain subdivision plans, but not,
Interested in doing that. They want the privacy.
who is they?
All the people that we've shown this property to.
You know what? I live here because my father-in-law needed help when his wife died. We bought that house only because it was a family home. If I could pick my house up and move it out in the county, I would do it in a heartbeat. I hate being inside the city limits with limitations that the city limits have. I have 4 acres of mountain. It's a very rural feel. I'd love to have it rezoned. But these people that you're talking about who want that privacy and want their horses need to look at a county. Not this piece of property is not available for that purpose. And I don't see that it should be.
Councilor Proctor.
Ma'am, don't get upset about what I'm fixing to say, and I'm saying to the counselors, as well. You're in the business, mother, he was here, people that own the land now to sell land. Okay? We're in the business to try to do the best we can for the people that elected us here to help protect them and do as they ask. And this is something that I have a hard time, going against what the people have asked or told me what they would like. And that's why that I'm here and the other three counselors are here. So until it comes up for a vote, whether it be now or whether it's the next meeting, that's when we'll find out what it does.
So John or Ellie, according to what I recall about public hearings is we could postpone the vote without doing a whole nother hearing for 2 weeks. Is that correct?
I don't think so. I think that if you continue it, you've still, those people who are entitled to notice are entitled to renotice. Right? Because you're going on with, you would have to say we're closing the public hearing, and if you close the public hearing, those people that Judy wants to hear from won't be able to testify, right? So you have to reopen the public hearing. To do that, you have to advertise and give notice.
If I remember right, we always had a public hearing first, and then the next meeting, we voted on it. And that went on for years and years and years here. I don't know what the change is.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah, we always had a public hearing. And then in 2 weeks, we voted on it after we got all the evidence this time. We've heard people, not everybody was here.
What I'm
I don't
saying
see
is-
any of these here.
What I'm saying, Councilor Miller, is that if you did it that way, I don't recall that, but I'm not
I do.
contesting, okay? But if you did it that way, then expecting those people to show up in 2 weeks, okay, and testify in the public hearing when you close the public hearing, that can't be. Because what you're telling me is that what you would do is you close the public hearing and then the council would make the decision at the next meeting. So,
We always did that.
okay, but if you're doing that for the purpose of having people come and testify that aren't here today, that wouldn't serve that purpose.
Yes, but it gives us a chance to see what their wishes are on changing something that outlines their R1.
That would give you as an individual council.
Yes, yes, it sure would. It sure would. And look at Alto, Crown Ridge, my God. My daughter's house was 40 steps down the hill. You know, they can put a house wherever they want. That's not unusual or uncommon anymore.
Mayor, I don't think we can go back to
Okay,
public.
may I just ask a question? Workshops, you have a workshop and then you have a business meeting. This is a business meeting, correct?
Yeah,
Well, I think we're getting ready to change that.
Okay, you're gonna change it back to 2 meetings?
Yes.
It's still a workshop.
I think that's where the council is headed.
Because when Mr. Underwood stated in 2 weeks you'd be revisiting this, is that on the pretense of what may happen with the change?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Judy, do you feel like you would be able to vote on this evening?
I don't know if I could vote without knowing how these people feel about it. And it's not just these people, it's the whole subdivision.
Well, we know what the state statutes are and our
I
plans
know.
for the city.
I know.
Would you be willing to entertain a motion to vote on this?
I don't know for sure. I don't know how all the people feel. How long ago did they get these letters? You know,
Councilor Miller, just so you're aware, this property does not border the Heights subdivision. This property borders Turkey Canyon and Hill property.
yeah, but it's
Nobody-
right
I-
below us.
Heights would have never got a letter.
Well, there's my East Circle, 200 East Circle. I live at
But you wouldn't, well, you
Or-
did, but it's 100 feet, Joan?
146 and 200.
100 feet from that property.
Those two properties, one lies on, the one that if this sets precedent, you're right,
Yes.
Judy, it does. If that sets precedent and it goes, the family decides to sell as they've indicated they're interested, it would, you're totally right.
Mhm.
And I think indirectly they all will be, so we. need
It's
to get
the whole
word out.
subdivision. And I know for a fact, I live across the road from the racetrack. I don't have trouble all summer, but when they go home, when they take the horses home, here comes the flies. Like crazy. But I don't know. I just don't know how everybody else feels there. And it's hard for me to vote because of, I haven't talked to anybody here. But that one is 50 feet from my place. 50 feet. Nope. But this address right here, I'm at 146 and this is 200 East Circle. That's 50 feet.
John, for
Yeah.
our rules, would it be appropriate to go ahead and call for a vote?
If there's a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to vote.
I'll second.
Well, the motion has to be to uphold the,
Yeah,
it has to be a
Motion.
positive.
it'll be a
vote, and
positive
then you vote
motion.
on that.
Vote either for it or against.
So,
I'm sorry. That's okay. It's right there. I got it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to uphold the planning and zoning request. Is that good?
Let me help you with it, if I may. The motion would be to uphold the planning and zoning, committee's, approval of the change from R1 to AR1 at the property located at 110 Hill Drive, Ruidoso Downs, Mexico.
You want me to repeat it?
No, sir.
No.
If you will adopt, you
Yes,
say
sir.
whatever John said.
Whatever John just said.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Roll call.
Counselor Laso,
no,
Counselor Baber,
No.
Counselor Proctor,
No.
Counselor Miller,
No,
motion carries.
Okay, that takes care of item A, correct, John? So we go to, on the public hearing to item B. Item B is the planning and zoning case 2024-P10, request for a PUD development to allow for a mobile home park to be placed at the property located at 26482, that's 26482 US Highway 70, Ruidoso Downs, New Mexico 88346, located in a PUD zoning district. John,
The applicant, Mr. Linder. I guess, before you'll introduce yourself.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Ethan Linder, resident of Alto, New Mexico. Most of you probably know me because I was the GM of Ruidoso Downs Racetrack for the last 3 years.
yes, and hello, Ethan.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. How are you, sir?
Okay,
So I'll give you the same 30-second overview that I gave the Planning and Zoning Commission. Prior to my departure from the racetrack, an organization that I work for and work with submitted a letter of intent to the Village of Ruidoso Downs for $100 million commitment to real estate. 3 weeks later, obviously the fires happened and things turned on their heads rather quickly. So we're still committed to spending $100 million in Lincoln County and the Village of Ruidoso and now Ruidoso Downs. We work directly with FEMA, the village, the county, and now we're here at Ruidoso Downs to speak with you with regards to housing post-fire. The biggest need right now in my phone, I get 5 to 10 phone calls a day are for immediate needs, people who need a place to live. We scoured the county, we scoured the village, and we scoured the Downs. The best property we can find for the immediate need was originally for 400 homes. That's what FEMA asked for. Immediate need 400. That number fluctuates now between 150 and 500, depending on who you talk with. Right now, what's submitted to P&Z and was approved unanimously on October 7th was to return a portion. And again, I'm here representing Tanner Irons and the Irons organization. There's drawings that have been submitted to the city, which would put 72 to 74, most likely by the time it's completely engineered to FEMA specs, would be closer to 60 pad sites that would adjoin slow play RV. Again, this is urgency and the need. So this would be phase one, and potentially we would come back to you with additional phases. But this would be a adjoining parcel of Tanner Irons' property that would adjoin slow play RV and mobile home on US 70. This would not really affect the commercial zoning and how he operates as a yard today. But we thought the closest 6 acres that does adjoin slow play RV would be the best use. The reason that is it's directly connected to the US Highway 70, which gives us direct access to utilities, electricity, water, and sewer. I know Tanner Irons is working directly with the facilities team with Ruidoso Downs on this project, working through tapping permits and things like that that would be necessary. What we're asking for is simply to allow us to convert 6 acres of Tanner Irons' property to what would be open to not only FEMA and people that FEMA have assigned, but also any other local who needs to get their homes out of floodplains. They lost their homes. We're not restricting this to fire victims, flood victims, or FEMA assistance. We're simply trying to place most likely 60 pad sites on that property, and we would make them available on a first come, first served basis to whether that is a FEMA need or a local who's simply looking for a house. That's what we're here to present before you today, and that's what we're here to speak about.
Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to address this? Oh,
Mayor,
Yeah.
Mayor, you had something a while ago even, is it still on the?
But I just wanted to,
I'm sorry.
oh, Jerry Williams?
Come on up.
Okay, thank you.
Introduce yourself again for the record.
Hey, what's up, Gary
Yes, sir.
Williams.
Nice to meet you.
Gary Williams, resident of the city of Ruidoso Downs. And more or less specifics. Right? We talked about 6 acres, and you're talking possibility of 60 pad sites, maybe increasing it later on.
We would come back for approval for additional phases.
With that, and the reason I'm asking is I'm familiar with situations that have happened with PUDs, and I'm directly affected by it when they try to occur in my neighborhood.
Okay.
And the whole dynamic of what happened was eventually went away because of the way it was going to be presented to it and the way it was going to potentially affect our neighborhood.
Okay.
And at that time, and to give you a little guideline, it was 7.5 acres. And they wanted to put 56 homes and townhomes within that 7.5 acres. Which, if you ever been in Agua Fria, there's a vacant lot down there, and you can see where that would have happened. The question I want to present to you, sir, is I understand you got everything that you need when it comes to utilities and all the specifics that's needed to put a subdivision in. I wanted to make sure that if this PUD comes in, that we're talking about FEMA being involved.
Potentially.
What are the characteristics of the homes that will be put in?
So, because again, Ethan Leonard, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is.
Ethan, you already introduced yourself, so you don't.
So this, sorry, I'm used to racing commission. We are not setting this up to say this is a FEMA park. FEMA will absolutely, in our opinion, they're trying to help as much as anybody else is. And so we lost 1,300 homes. We got 300 with floods. So we're looking at 1,600 people, and we're 1,000 homes short before the fire. We are going to make these pad sites available for individuals. These are 80 by 30 pad sites. So 80 deep, 30 wide. They all meet the setback regulations of the state and Ruidoso Downs via all the rules and regs throughout the state. Do we want to kick out FEMA? Absolutely not. I'm not here to pick our favorite child. What I'm saying is we're asking for permission to put 60 pad sites in this town. Those pad sites, if FEMA calls me and says, we have an emergency because we've got 13 people that don't have power, we've got people who are sleeping in dirt, I will absolutely take that call. I'm not here to tell you I won't. If those people need homes and FEMA says we want to sign a lease for that pad site for 12 months, I will absolutely entertain it. And I'm absolutely here to have that conversation with you. I don't want to pick one person over another. There are people, probably 30 people in my phone right now who are asking for mobile homes the day I walk out of this building. If we get approved, I will have 30 locals that many of you probably know who have already called me and said, I want to be here. The conversation I had with FEMA last week was, who gets to pick? Because right now we've got hundreds of people who need homes, and right now I'm only asking for 60. And the truth is, the only reason I'm asking for 60 is I don't know how much the demand is. Do we need 500? It's possible. So we're going to start taking off small bites and see what happens. Because I know that the phone numbers I have, if I walk out of here with an approval, I'll have 30 people that fast to take them, and probably FEMA will ask for 50 or 100. And again, if that were to be the case, I would come back to you and say, we service 60 people. Would you consider allowing us to do more? And you could say yes or no at that point in time, and I totally understand that. Today, I know I've got 30 locals, and I know FEMA is going to come to me and say, can I use those? A FEMA house required by FEMA right now, you can see them on Gavelin. They're starting to place mobile homes, single wides. There's 2 right by Alto Cafe. They're typically 16 wide, 76 long, depending on what those houses are. They're 2-bed, 3-bed, fully 2-bed, 3-bath, 3-bed, 2-bath, fully furnished, professionally installed houses. They are not hardened. They are not built to be here for long periods of time. Ultimately, the conversations I'm having with FEMA are, what do we do 18 months from now? In 18 months, we need a long-term strategy to pivot them from short-term housing that is paid for by FEMA. I'm not paying for these houses, FEMA is. In 18 months, we have a soft landing for these individuals to put them into affordable homes in those patches. Because eventually FEMA will pick up and leave town. FEMA is not to be here full-time. These houses will not be here full-time. FEMA has to take those homes back to auction and sell them. That is a federal statute. They cannot leave the FEMA HUD units here. If those conversations were to happen, those have to be entirely different single wides, and that's not the intent of FEMA. And again, we're here above and beyond FEMA. If you all told me, hey, I really want to entertain this, but here are my rules concerning FEMA, absolutely happy to have it. We're just trying to help. And if you put stipulations on FEMA, I would just express those stipulations to FEMA, and we'd have that conversation. But right now I know the demand, and that's why we're here today to try to figure out how we can help.
Would the consideration go from single wide trailers to manufactured homes? If they
Single
would-
wide trailers are manufactured homes.
Yeah, would this would be permanent, or would it be where people into this part?
So we're working with individuals. So you've got all types in town right now. You have types of people who were flooded, and they have homes that most likely are going to be deemed condemned. And those people are going to be looking for new homes. Whether they qualify for FEMA is not up to me. FEMA handpicks through certain protocols who qualifies for funding and who does not. So depending on how many FEMA would entertain paying for, you're going to have a mix of FEMA needs 5, or FEMA might need 20, or FEMA might need 200. And all of those people would be provided a unit, and their rent would be paid by FEMA. You're going to have people, and trust me, I know you probably have people who have called me, who say, I'm just a affordable place to live in Ruidoso. If you're building 60 pad sites, I'd like to put my name on the list. We can make single wides available to those individuals. We will finance them, we will insure them, and we will make them available to those residents. This is not a temporary structure. This would be permanent. It most likely would be somewhat cyclical as we phase out recovery and into longer term. If a FEMA house left, I promise you the demand behind the house, we replace it by a full-time citizen with a house in that location, not too dissimilar to the other locations.
And just one more time, and I won't bother you more about this. The homes that we brought in, could be brought in by the people that want to purchase that property.
The property is not for sale.
Okay, it's not for sale. These are homes that could temporary or be brought in, and the person said, well, I want to move, I gotta go somewhere else, I'll move to another state.
So typically, in the nature of those houses, once they're there, the people try to sell them, they don't try to relocate them. So typically, the wheels come up, the axles
Okay.
come up, the house is really affixed.
That's what I wanted to go. It's nothing against mobile home parks, because mobile home parks have a tendency to not hold up a certain amount of standards within that complex. And I'm not saying anything about the people in general, but as a city, and we've always wanted to work with the affordable housing, trying for years. Even when I was around, we tried to get affordable housing, couldn't find a place in town to be able to make it happen. And obviously you have, and I can appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure that the PUD, that, you know, when we talk about PUD, we're talking about density, talking about a lot of homes within a short area of property.
Sure.
Now, once these come in here, is there going to be any kind of area, green space within this?
So as we're working with, and it came up in the P and Z meeting, what you will see is literally an emergency bill that we're working with P and Z. In order to get this done, so Souter Miller, the engineering firm, has been assigned to the project. They're already on contract. They've already done initial layouts for us. We're gonna have to go from this meeting immediately to Souter Miller tomorrow with any adjustments that need to happen. I know the chairman of P and Z has some comments on 7% green space and things like that. Those will all been noted and we be passed on to Souter Miller with regards to final layout. We're gonna do everything we can. Most likely, 60 is gonna end up turning into 100, 100 might turn into 150. So if we need to add the 7% to that right now to make green space available day one, that's a conversation we just need to pass on to the Souter Miller engineer firm and say, make sure you lay out 7%. And then we would address that as we take cases. But yes, that did come up with PNC and it was a concern of the chairman.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience have any comments?
I don't know.
Come on up.
First off,
State your name, please.
okay. Delilah Aparicio, and I've lived in Ruidoso Downs for 17 years.
Are you a current resident?
Yes, sir, I am. First of all, I'm gonna give you that.
Okay.
On behalf of my daughter. Because she's been looking for a place and she was in the floods. And I was here, last meeting and she has an RV behind my house. So my understanding was that you all had stated that you guys were not going to let her have the RV behind my house.
That's not what we said.
That's not.
Okay,
Absolutely not.
I'm not, that's why I'm trying to confirm with you guys because that was my understanding. I had a phone call and they told me, hey, they didn't prove it. So now, you're gonna have to move the RV out of there. So I'm trying to find out what I have to do to keep the RV there.
We don't have an
It's
ordinance
not an ordinance.
that prohibits RVs on personal property.
So she's allowed to stay there.
We don't have an ordinance.
We don't have an ordinance against it.
Oh, okay, okay. So my understanding was that there was an ordinance
There
there.
is not an ordinance.
No, and I asked that question before we voted.
The only thing we voted on, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the only thing we voted on, ma'am, was not to reissue permits because of that. No ordinance stipulating that we had to. So if you wanted to build a fence around something like that, you'd have to come get a permit, but to have
Oh,
it there for
okay.
your daughter to live in, no, ma'am, she can live there till the cows come home and hopefully you don't have
All right,
cows.
y'all have an ordinance.
Well, she's trying to find a home, so I hope that they approve what you're doing because I think it would help a lot of families.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
At the cost of living, that would be wonderful.
Yes. it would.
Any other people from the public?
Hi, my name is Angelina and I am current resident of Ruidoso Downs. And I have
State your last name, please.
Colleen Sanchez. And I have a question regarding this mobile home park. Who's gonna provide the water? Is the
That's a good
city,
question.
is the city ready for this? I mean, our city is ready for this?
If we could help us, allow Mr. Jarvis to respond.
Mayor, members of council, I brought some information for you. Currently, the city's averaging about 315 acre feet to 350 acre feet a year is what we're using. Okay? We have 584. I did receive a call earlier, a text, just questioning, about restrictions. The reason we have restrictions is because there's times and flows that these have to be pumped and can't be pumped. I did an analysis on what Ethan's proposing. If we said 5,000 gallons per home per month, which is actually a little bit high, that would put us about 1 acre foot a month that they're using. So we're good. We have.
Good.
Do we need more water rights? We always do. We're always looking, but we will be fine. We should have plenty of water to supply this and still operate as normal. I do need to look at redoing the restrictions, and honestly, I have no idea how to do them because of how we fluctuate. It's not as simple as the village or anybody else. We're kind of limited. We're allowed to pump X amount of gallons a minute up to this amount, and we're stuck at that. There's times that we don't use that. There's times we're above it. We have to kind of juggle, but as of currently, I mean, we do have the water rates. We have 564 a year, and we're at a max of 70.
We have a bad year, we still gonna have water? No, I mean,
You know, if I could ever get a generator and some stuff I'm working on FEMA with for Riverside, and that spring dies out, we got the water. Because everything can move down there if that was to happen. We're still trying to get generators and that kind of stuff. We should be okay.
Thank you.
I have another question. You said you're not here to pick up the favorite child, but if FEMA is involved and you say you want to put only 65 or 70 at max, but FEMA come and say, I need 80, but they're not, like, it's just like temporary. It's not like permanent.
So the location itself is permanent. Utilities would be permanent. The park itself would be permanent. What typically happens, and again, FEMA, if I could tell you what FEMA's number was, if there was any consistency in post-fire recovery, I would be happy to tell you right now, we need 222 pad sites. There is no consistency in this whatsoever. When this started, I need 400 to 500. 2 weeks ago, I needed 20. And last weekend, the conversation changed drastically. And so as FEMA does things, as they further their way through the recovery effort and they find electrical issues, they're waiting for the December floodplain maps to come out. All of this will change. What won't change is that we're going to need a park. We're going to need a park to give people permanent homes, get them in some place to live by Thanksgiving and by Christmas. If FEMA says, I really need 20, I promise you there is not one commercial park in town with an available spot. If FEMA needs 20, we'll look at it. If there's 50 residents that say, I need 50 homes, trust me, I'm going to get the call from Santa Fe that says, can you help FEMA? Can you help Aldi? Because this is a global effort. And again, most likely when FEMA calls and we get the demand from FEMA and the consumers, I might be right back here in the month of November saying, here's an updated statistics. They're asking for 50 more. Again, that would be permanent pad sites that we could bring for request, whether they're approved or not, we would take that in that meeting. But ultimately, this would not be a temporary solution. I think you're going to see that in the most low-lying grounds of our community, they're not going to be livable for a long period of time. For the next few years, if we get 15 feet of water every time it rains, we're going to have to find a place on higher ground. Tanner Irons' location is 150 feet above the floodplain and will be for all of our lives and the next 5 generations. You cannot say that about any flat piece of ground in this town that's developable today. So what we did is we looked at high ground, close to utilities, close to neighboring mobile home parks, because that for us made the most sense, and that's the reason we're here today.
Ethan, is there a preference between FEMA and normal consumers?
Yes. That was my question.
I don't know the answer to that. Honest answer. So ultimately, everybody needs homes. And so again, we don't know. I would love to know that we need 220 and I would be here asking for 220. I can tell you right now, I don't have enough demand from either FEMA or private consumers to need more than 60. So for today's conversation, 60 will appease the demand that FEMA is asking for and demand of the inbound phone calls that I'm receiving. If we get to a point where I've got 20 more people than I have spots, then we would start looking at drawings, potentially reaching out to P&Z and talking through other opportunities. But I think you're going to see that from an affordable housing standpoint and from a current floodplain issue, most likely those parks in this town will need to start popping up and they will need to start coming to some scale. And that means that park or another park might need to be at 100 or 200 additional spots than we had pre-fire. And that's just the nature of, we don't have workforce. We didn't have workforce housing before the fire. And we don't have it now. And now we're 1,000 short of where we were this time last year. Trust me, the number one issue at the track was I can't afford to bring in people because I can afford to pay them, but they can't afford to live here. Our seasonal workers cannot afford $3,700 a month in rent. Not that that's what these are for, but if we can take pressure off the rental market by putting permanent housing in the market, you will see our rental rates drop. we have to start putting, whether it's the county, the downs, or the village, we need to get inventory to get some normalcy on our rental rates, or nobody will be able to afford to live here. And so that will be a balance between municipalities, the water allotments, and the developers to try to figure out what that symbiotic thing is. Because I promise you, that if I go to the village and I say I want 500, village is gonna say, you can't, we don't have water. The county's screaming for houses because they have water and they think it's cheaper to build in Carrizozo and things like that. I think we're all just gonna have to be eyes wide open for the next 2 to 5 years, monitor the floodplains, monitor the water allotments, and just try to do the best we can to help everybody. I don't know that we will be able to help everybody, but we're gonna try, and that's why we're here.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Did you want to talk?
I won't talk.
Go ahead.
She was trying to get your attention.
Fernanda Sanchez. And I'm not a resident of Ruidoso now, that's why. But mainly the thing with the concern is with the housing is the density, right? Is this area zoned for the density that they want to put in?
Yes, ma'am.
It is. And with it being a PUI, a PUD, does it have to be adjusted? Does that have to be adjusted for the people that are coming in?
Does what have to be adjusted?
Does the zoning, with it being a PUD, does that have to change in any way to be able to allow this building activity for the pad site? No? Okay, and then with FEMA coming in, will they take, I guess it's just a redundant question, will they take priority to who gets the spots? Do they get to pick who gets the spots? This is a contract between FEMA and Tanner Irons?
So right now, there's no contract between FEMA and Tanner Irons.
Okay.
There's none. Again, full disclosure, because we all live here.
Right.
Incredibly fluid.
Okay,
So, and by fluid, I mean, if FEMA, it goes back to everything else we talked about. There's so many moving parts. I honestly, at one point in time, I thought I needed 400 homes. 2 weeks ago, they asked for 20.
okay.
Could they ask me for 100? Will I come in and disclose?
Is there like,
Okay.
He's gonna answer a rezoning question probably.
okay,
But again, it's very fluid. All we're requesting and all in theory we would be allowed to do would be the 60.
okay,
Is there a shot in 2 months, 2 weeks, or 2 years? We need more houses. That is 100% possible.
I guess my biggest question is it Tanner Irons that's requesting the pad sites, or is it FEMA, or is it a joint effort between both?
So emergency efforts post-fire, FEMA comes in, general contractors, Timberline come in, everybody coordinates and says, how many do we need? People go, fire victims go to hotels, they go to, flood victims go to hotels, they go to rentals. Some people leave, some people come back, and there's an entire process where FEMA and all these governmental agencies track individuals based on the applications that they turn in. So if you haven't spoken as a resident to FEMA for a specific reason, FEMA walks you through, what is your situation? Do you have a place to live? And there's an entire protocol that the entire government handles, not us. Initially, post-fire, because we had lost 1,200 or 1,600 total structures, pre-flood, those numbers were 400 or 500. What throws everything off is we have a lot of second residents and not primary residents. And so that throws everything off. And then the floods happened. Most likely, 95% of people affected in the floods are primary residents. That's not what happened in the floods. So what you're going to pressure really to relocate might come from a lot of the single whites. That's what's directly impacted. And we're local residents, not necessarily second residents in Upper Canyon, Brave Canyon, and Alpine.
Maybe I misunderstood the question, but I think your question was, is this a Tanner Irons project or is this a FEMA project?
Yeah, whose is it?
So there is no contract or discussions with FEMA. If there is a pad site, would they be interested in renting? This is 100% private construction. If FEMA chooses to use it, that's a discussion between FEMA and Tanner. But that is not in writing. There's never been a contract discussed. There's never been anything. But there is 30 people in my phone who would gladly talk to Tanner tomorrow and sign a contract.
And where's Tanner? Is he
Tanner
here?
is actually in Lake Tahoe and he'll be back tomorrow.
Tanner and Timberline are doing this together.
No, Timberline is the subcontractor for FEMA. So FEMA is the government entity and everything they do subs, okay? So they sub to a company called Timberline. Timberline has run all over this. They've met with the school board, they've met with residents in the county, they've met with me, they've met with Tanner on umpteen locations. Their job is to find the most economical mobile home pad site for the federal government. Since none exist, they met with 10 of us probably across the municipality and said, can we use your property to build a pad site? Can we do this? And that's funded wholly. by the federal government. That's not what this project is.
That's the scary part.
This project is privately funded. And if Tanner wants to say, I don't want FEMA here, he has full authority to say that. When FEMA leaves 2 months, 2 years, 10 years from now, Tanner Irons wholly owns this park. And if FEMA never uses it, there's no hard feelings. If FEMA does use it, then FEMA will have a life cycle in which their units most likely will be returned back to FEMA, and that will operate as a full-time mobile home park under the guidance of Tanner Irons.
Young lady, does your question have or comment have to do with the current subject? Okay, look, why don't you go ahead and then we'll come back to you if it's about this very thing.
Are you through with your questions?
I guess it just, like you said, to follow through with that, it's a privately owned, right, project, right? Tanner Irons is doing this. But if they're doing it in requesting the permits through the specifications that FEMA is requesting.
No, so full disclosure, because we all live here, like I live here, everybody lives here. Full disclosure, this is a private investment on private property on a PUD zoned property. We're requesting to build 60 pad sites on a PUD property. One, because we're private investors and we live here. We know there was a housing shortage before. We know there's a housing shortage now. We're asking for permission to put 60 pad sites. If FEMA wants to call us and say, hey, we want to use some or all of them, we'll have that conversation. We will actively market to this 30 people who have already put themselves on the waiting list, to those people and say, they're available. We need to go through the utility process and do the build out, but during the phase, we look to make as many comfortable on those 60 pad sites as possible.
Does FEMA have priority to those pad sites?
No. Again, I don't know anybody in this room how you pick your favorite child. And so I don't know where FEMA will fall in this, but it is a.
Well, that's what we're wondering because you keep bringing FEMA back into it.
She brought it, no, she said. So right now.
Okay, let's put FEMA back outside and let's talk about what you want to do, what you want us to do for you tonight.
Yes, sir. So,
That's it?
I'm so confused.
Yes, ma'am, she'll come forward.
I'm Amy Andrews. I'm a resident here in Rio Doce Downs. I actually live in Spaghetti Flats, by the way, and I do have one horse on a 1 acre lot. Okay. And he's very well taken care of. This is Tanner's land, right? Right now, to start with, you just want to put in 60 pad sites.
it's an approach. We don't want to overextend. Yes, ma'am.
And then you're hoping to expand, and this piece of property is large enough to have up to 200 pad sites and to be spaced far enough apart to where people aren't living right on top of each other, and the green space that, so it's landscaped and
So.
taken care of and looks nice and.
So the conversation I had with the chairman of planning and zoning was the greatest need for the first 30 days is trying to get people off of couches and out of
Right,
hotel
and
rooms
understandable.
into homes.
There are people that have been in motels ever since it happened.
And so we understand stipulations of green space, we understand stipulations of landscaping, we understand all of that. And we would absolutely entertain 1%, 2%, whatever the global right now, we're here in front of the group to say, how do we help get people into homes and out of hotel rooms by Thanksgiving and Christmas?
I understand.
With that understanding that we need to put fences in, we need green space. If you would allow us to first let them go into a bed of their own and allow us to work through the finalized development of building the appropriate front office, building the landscaping and finishing the neighborhood, that would be our ask, at least to try to expedite the project from an urgency standpoint.
Okay, understand. I think another question that some people are having is people who have been flooded out and they have a mobile home or a manufactured home. Is this a place that they could bring a used home to?
100%. So
Are there any or specifications on or standards on condition of the home?
condition typically is driven by CID. So I know there's an ongoing process in the village and the county, and I'm not real sure.
CID is Construction Industries Division.
Correct, and then so you got the market division. So all of those divisions are actively being deployed to the market today. They need to get under every single one of these homes.
Right.
They need to look at all the insulation.
Right.
They need to look if they're even street worthy, and a lot of that is not going to be possible.
Right, understand. Okay, something else that your online website was talking about, that there are 2 models, I think, and they're single wides. I thought there were now ordinances that said there are no more single wides in Ruidoso Downs. No, we don't have an ordinance like that. We wish we did. So that was just hearsay.
There is some restrictions for Agua Fria. For single wides.
So okay, so single wides that are being torn down in neighborhoods in Ruidoso Downs. It's not true that they were told that they had to be torn down, from the city, right? Okay, that was.
I don't think we've had any condemned, have we?
How are you?
No, just, I think they was talking about that old one
I
that they
think
gave.
that's, I think more than anything, we're just concerned, is the area big enough to do what you want to do and have
Let me
it?
see if I can explain. PUD zoning is planned unit development. And so the beauty of that is it gives this council the opportunity to set the parameters of the development. Okay? So they can say how much open space is needed, how much this is needed, how much that is needed. So it's a really unique part of zoning that
Oh, I understand.
isn't in many places, but it gives the council the opportunity to control that and put conditions on that.
Okay.
So that would all give me a.
We understand we need more affordable housing in our communities. We do, because it keeps businesses from coming here, because we can't get workers to work in our businesses here because they can't afford to live in our community or in Ruidoso. I mean, we do need more housing, and I appreciate you wanting to try to find a way to allow new people to come in and have an affordable place to live, but also to provide places for our existing residents that have been wiped out. So,
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Maria, Luther, I'll get to you right after the public speaks.
Actually, Judge Plant is on, she's trying to.
Okay, I've got, Luther has already raised his hand. So, Luther, do I have anybody?
Just one more comment. You talked, sir, you talked about, Gary Wentz. You talked about, time frame that this project, if you get the okay from council to move forward. What is your time that you're looking at to get everything in place to allow the citizens to start utilizing this park?
So Souter Miller is already 50% of the way through their contract. The other 50% would be to work with the local municipality, the CID divisions, and every other governmental agency that needs to get involved with regards to site built utilities, roads, infrastructure. There's a couple windstream lines that need to be moved, working with Mr. Jarvis at the city of Ruidoso Downs on water taps, sewer taps. Ultimately, speed is of the essence, but we also understand there's protocols that need to take place. Behind the scenes, all those conversations would have happened with Lance at Otero County. They've happened with Mr. Jarvis. They happened with Souter Miller. Ultimately, pending any approval and any adjustments that might have from the city of Ruidoso Downs, we would take that into consideration, pass the information on to the engineers, and move as fast as we can.
This weekend.
As fast as we can.
We can.
Not weekend.
Weekend.
Not as fast, hopefully.
I don't know about the weekend, got the time change already, I got to figure it out. No, we're looking beyond this year, to start, you think, this is being on November.
If Souter Miller is gonna give me the engineer drawings by Friday, pending adjustments and reviews from the city of Ruidoso Downs.
Okay.
Those drawings will be submitted to the city of Ruidoso Downs for approval. CID from the state level has already agreed to put inspectors and investigators on the ground. They've allowed us to basically have the discussion about site built, and it would take 3 days to actually build it in.
Thanks. Thank you.
Luther, White,
Yes, sir, I'm here.
it's your turn.
I would like to speak, I guess, as a planning and zoning director, I would like to point out that the comprehensive plan, which the city of Ruidoso Downs adopted in 2021, specifically calls out as a goal to seek out ways to provide affordable housing in our community. And this project fits very well for that goal. And then I am also on the school board for the Ruidoso Municipal School District. And as a member of the school board, we lose employees yearly because they cannot find an affordable place to live. And the school district desperately needs affordable housing so that we can keep teachers in our classrooms. So those two things are my only points.
And then Judge Plant.
Hi, so I'm Lori Plant and I am a resident of Ruidoso Downs. Just a couple of issues or a couple of questions, I guess. One, every summer, we are totally restricted on water use to the point that we have to hand water vegetables, but now I'm hearing we have enough water to possibly serve it to 100 additional people, number one, with green space, which would take water. Number two, what are we calling affordable? Because if these sites are going to be $500-600 a month to rent, that's not affordable. People waiting tables cannot afford that on top of a manufactured mortgage. And so I've worked for attorneys that we represented major mobile home parks. I know the amount of evictions that are done because people are put in there and they can't afford to stay. They can't pay both the mortgage and the lot rent. So my question would be, how much are these sites going to rent for? Because again, if they're $500-600 a month and you have a $400-500 mortgage on your house, that's $1,000 a month plus utilities. How are people going to afford that if they're working at Circle K for $13 an hour? So I would ask, what are you looking at to rent those sites?
Okay, so again, right now you're looking at Cherokee Village has got 120. Gavlin alone's probably got another 100. Each of those locations charge between $350 and $450 per pad site. That's the going market rate in Ruidoso today. All of them are at 100% occupancy. There's probably, outside looking in, 25 to 50% of those homes are going to be in the floodplain. It's going to be a long-term issue that I don't know that we're going to be able to get away from for 2 to 10 years as it comes down to US Highway 70 and everything else that everybody's seen. The rates of $500 or $600 are not going to happen. Most likely their market rates will fall right within Ruidoso's market rates of $350 and $450. Again, if FEMA provides short-term housing, that's entirely paid for by FEMA. That's a different discussion. The units that we have seen that would go into that property could cost $70,000, $80,000. If somebody wants a really nice single-wide home, it can push $100,000, but that's personal preference. If they want to bring in a home that they bought from Las Cruces, whatever they paid for it, that's above and beyond us. We're trying to make pad sites available for them to place those homes. Yes, if somebody does not pay their rent, just like an apartment or a condo, there will be discussions with those individuals about lack of payment. That is unfortunately a course of business that we would have to take. But at this point in time, the market rates will be $350 to $450, depending on the size of the lots and ultimately the layout of the property.
Any other questions from the audience? All right. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to close the public hearing and turn it over to councilors.
Councilors,
I have a couple of questions for you. Does Jeremy Irons own Slow Play?
Tanner Irons.
Oh, Tanner, okay.
Tanner Irons does not, as far as I know, have any involvement in Slow Play RV at all.
Okay, so it's just the proximity that's so attractive, not because he
Correct. It would share a fence line. There would be no connectivity between the two facilities. There's no shared partnership as far as I am aware.
Okay. Then on the plan that I'm looking at, it's suggesting 74 lots and you're saying 60?
So Souter Miller from Las Cruces, when they did the emergency review post-fire, drew over a ditch. And they can't go over a ditch. So if you were to go to that site, they didn't take elevation into consideration, we cannot build there.
Okay, so we are looking.
There will be a reevaluation when Souter Miller, typically Souter Miller will do the drawings and try to get through the zoning process and then come back, we'll do final surveys, final plats and send through for utility permits and things like that for final approval. 70 to 72 that's on there does cross basically an Arroyo. And it is an unbuildable location.
Well, I'm glad for that because I like green space. So you said within 3 days, but I'm gonna ask Mr. Jarvis, how long does it take to get water all plumbed in over there? Do they really?
We have water already at the property line.
So they
It'll have to
really,
be a tap and they'll have to put fire hydrants and stuff in this. That's just laws that will have to be followed.
in 3 days?
So really, so the nice part is this all started one day after the fire. So the housing authority, CID, and everybody involved is actively engaged and will approve pending local jurisdictions to open all ditches at the same time. So basically, Tanner would go in with excavators, mini excavators, and open all the ditches per the drawings from Souter Miller. We would then survey everything to make sure the flows are correct and comply with the regulations. Instantly, the plumbers would go in, drop all the plumbing into open ditches.
You can find a plumber like that.
We have a plumber ready to go. But ultimately, it's open, right? You open all the ditches, you lay out the entire plumbing and you make your taps. The inspectors walk up and they approve all 60 pad sites in one visit. Once they approve them, all the ditches get covered, taps go vertical, property gets base course, and the neighborhood gets let out. And those are days after Mr. Jarvis and his organization gets to where they need to be. The actual development of it from a construction standpoint is minimal.
Next question. These lots that are proposed here are 30 feet wide and 80 feet long. And you said a FEMA unit is about 16 feet wide and 76 feet long. It's going to seem like a pretty tight squeeze. Could the person choose to take 2 lots?
If they pay for 2 lots, they can have 2 lots. So ultimately, so the setback rules, so Souter Miller is very familiar with the state regs and statutes with regards to setbacks, and those are set to state statutes.
Mayor, I'm finished.
Yes, Council Proctor.
Yes, I got a couple of questions. Okay, you're saying your lot is 80 by 30. That's gonna be the lot.
The pad site per, yes, sir.
Okay, when you say pad, I'm thinking concrete poured.
Okay,
Is that what it is?
no,
Okay, so you're pouring concrete to set the mobile home on, correct?
no,
Okay, 80 by 30, you got 20 foot to the front, 20 foot to the back, 10 foot on each side.
That's
Okay, you're,
I'm listening.
okay. You take the 20 in the back, the 20 in the front, that leaves you a 40-foot space to put a mobile home in. How big are these mobile homes you're talking about putting in there?
What setbacks are you putting on a pad site?
May I clarify something for our council talking? This is a mobile home park. This is not a mobile home on a residential lot in the city. So the standards are different.
I understand that, but you're not gonna have a green space as wide as this desk. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. If I come in and want to put a 76-foot mobile home in there, I'm not gonna meet the offsets because my home's too long. If it's 16 foot wide and the pad's on, your pad that you're gonna let go is only 30 feet wide, that leaves me a 16-foot wide mobile home, which most single wides are now. 16 wide, and most of them are 72 feet long, unless you just really get a small one. And the last time I checked, and I'm saying this because my brother just bought a new mobile home. Single wide, put on lake property, paid $115,000 for it. It's a cheap model. So I don't know what kind of deal you and Ten Irons might have. That's fine. I'm just wanting to be sure that when you say you start opening this up, when you give these people a bed to sleep in, you're gonna have curbing, asphalt roads, all that's gonna be a community.
No,
It's not.
that's not what is presented today.
Okay. So the roads you put in, are they gonna be gravel? Compacted gravel?
Again, so right now, and again, just full disclosure, the paperwork we have with regards to development of a mobile home park in Rio Downs don't include those. So when we look to build this, right now, everything's base course. To get the pad sites down, to get these people into homes as fast as possible, there is not concrete pad sites. Mobile home sites like this are code set. There's a New Mexico code that dictates how these have to be set. And so these will all be set by licensed installers through the New Mexico code. And that would be CMU block, reinforced, vapor barriers, everything's gotta be screwed to the ground. That would be the code set. The setbacks on the houses are per the mobile home park rules that Souter Miller evaluated for us and will lay out the neighborhood per those New Mexico mobile home park rules. The setbacks on the parcel itself will be appropriate to slow play, will be appropriate to the highway per setback rules in the state of New Mexico and those defined in Rio Downs.
Okay, now these lots, say about 30, if someone wanted to buy it, they can buy that lot.
No, sir.
Nope, it's not. It's strictly just rental. Everything is rental.
Correct. So as the emergency need that we were told, the best case post-fire is to build pad sites. If FEMA wants to use them, FEMA can use them. If people want to buy a single wide trailer, the single wide trailer can use them. A year from now, 6 months from now, as we look to try to develop newer, nicer neighborhoods, curbs, asphalt roads, and all those things to develop true single-family neighborhoods, that takes more time, and that is also in development behind the scenes, but that's not what the current proposal is in front of you.
Okay, I have read what Mr. Light put out for restrictions of what he wanted you to meet and stay with that. Now, I concur with that 100%.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you something right now, looking at you, if you don't go to those standards, I will do everything that I can with this council to stop you dead in your tracks. You have to build a home that people can live in and they have to be able to get to it. So when it rains, you're gonna have muddy roads up there. How long do we take care of roads in here before you start paving, Joey? Every year, thousands of dollars on base course and it not being put in properly. That was one of the reasons. Okay, but I'm just saying, I will follow the restrictions on what's been given to you, and anything above and beyond that, I would like for you to come back to this council, know where you're standing with everything.
100%. And in all fairness, the reason I bring it up, I live here just like everybody else. I don't want to build a neighborhood and I drive by it every day and go, my name is associated with that. That's not the plan.
You live in Alto.
Yeah.
This is Riddle's Downs.
Yeah, it's a long way from Riddle's Downs.
I live in Alto. Every job I've got, whether it's the racetrack or working with Tanner Irons, is 100% Rio Downs. I came here for Rio Downs. I ran Rio Downs for 3 years. My family goes to school here. My 2 little boys go to the elementary school. 1 goes to the middle school. I'm not somebody from out of town coming here to try to take advantage. I understand Mr. Luther Light's position. I agree with him 100%, and I promise you, our goal is not to come here and underbuild this. We will build it to the highest standards. And if there are issues and we get in trouble because we didn't do something, it's because we missed it and we're gladly to fix it. This is not somebody who's gonna come in here and do something and sell it and leave. Tanner's been here for years and years and years. My wife graduated from Reynosa High School. We're here. And
I know your wife very well.
I'm sorry.
Not as a friend.
No, but she's the driving force behind all this. We have to take care of people. We have to do a nice job. I'm from a resort background. We're gonna put forth a nice product. If in 2 weeks, Joey and Tanner and I jump on a 4-wheeler and say, gotta asphalt this, we'll pull the asphalt equipment from 100 feet over on Tanner's side, bring the asphalt over and asphalt everything. If that is phase 2 and that's a meeting that comes out here, we're happy to do it. In order to try to get people in homes, if I'm allowed to do that, and if we need to, or if I need to come back with asphalt 2 weeks or 2 months from now, happy to have that conversation.
I'm just looking at the citizens and the people who'll be living there. They need a way to get in and a way to get out, and it has to be reasonable.
That is fair.
Okay. I rest, Mayor.
I have one question and I might have missed it. I don't know for sure. But I'm wondering about the cost of us putting in the utilities.
I'm taking all cost of utilities.
Yeah,
It's,
he eats all the costs.
yeah, we're not here to ask for.
Okay.
infrastructure. Yeah.
I said I probably missed it,
So
but
We
that,
just tap
it
into it.
could be confusing because a lot of FEMA parks, if a FEMA person does it, FEMA will actually ask you for infrastructure money or.
yeah, that's what I knew.
On this one, this is privately funded. We pay for the tapping permits. We'll go straight to the lines. We'll tap, we'll connect at no cost. We're not asking the state for money. We're not asking the local government for money. There's no tax incentives. This is
So
simply,
the federal government's to,
there's no federal money. There's no state money. This is privately funded by Tanner.
okay.
I hope it
And
doesn't let
he'll
FEMA
own it.
in because, well,
Well, every time he says FEMA, it just makes me
Yeah.
go bad.
Just, yeah.
Well, I
Well,
know,
the benefit, in all honesty, for FEMA is if anybody asks me, can I put a mobile home here? One of the questions I would ask them, because I want to help take care of them, is, have you met with FEMA? Because even if you get a location, FEMA will help pay your rent. If you've been displaced by this fire, at least talk to FEMA and see if they will help offset your rents. That's at least full disclosure to everybody. There's a lot of people living in Airbnbs in Ruidoso right now instead of hotel rooms because FEMA is paying their Airbnb rental. If somebody is living in our park, if we're allowed to build it and FEMA pays their rent for our local citizen and they don't have to pay out of pocket, I'll probably try to help them fill out that application to see if FEMA will help them pay for that. And if that's what FEMA can do and it can save that person $5,000 or $10,000 in a year, I will probably encourage them to have that conversation with the FEMA representatives if they were put in a place by the flood and the fire.
My only problem is I like this little town and I like the people in it. And I'm sorry that them people got hurt up there, but we can't take everything. You know?
And I get it, totally understand. And again, that's why we take it small bites. I think if I walked in here and said, I think we're gonna need 500, it's a totally different conversation. I think our goal right now is to help what we can in the 6 acres that we have. And if the demand is strong, then I think we all like get back on the phone with the Planning and Zoning Commission and say, what do you think? The demand is for 50 more, 100 more. How do you see this playing out? And they'll probably give me guidance as to it. It's a good idea. It's not a good idea.
Ethan, I think part of the problem that, that you're having, council, to use the words of Ronald Reagan, he said the worst words you can hear, 8 words, are, hi, I'm with the federal government and I'm here to help.
yeah,
And I think the council is a little shy for that reason. I mean, they're not trying to be too cautious, but I think that's what's causing some of this.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that's why I'm trying to overemphasize, this is not a FEMA park. It's not paid for by FEMA. They have no call on this project whatsoever. They don't get to engineer it. They don't need to do anything. We did meet with them and said, if you need to use this park, is it even built to federal specs? And they said, yes, if you build it like this, it will meet federal specs. And if that's the case, we would be willing to potentially place flood or fire victims in your park. I said, perfect. And that's our only relationship with FEMA.
are they part of
Yes.
qualifying the people, FEMA?
If FEMA calls, the call would be something like this. Hey, can we rent 5 pad sites? If we had 5 pad sites available, we would have to have that conversation with them. Who FEMA places there, it's private information. It couldn't even go to me. It would be a federal government contract that I'm not part of that conversation.
Councilor Proctor?
Well, I'm ready to make a motion on this, Mayor.
Okay, we'll need to close the
We already did.
public
Already
hearing.
voted.
Is closed for the council?
Not for the council. I have one more comment, Mayor.
Yeah, it hadn't been closed for the council.
So since I've been a city councilor, one of my personal goals for our city is affordable housing. With the current administration that we have, the councilors don't have any ability to express what we want. But what you're doing is exactly what I have been hoping for from the city. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, ma'am.
To add to the problem, it's not gonna be too long. It seems like it right now until the racetrack's gonna be open and the Texans are coming. And it seems like we got a lot of time, but not as much as we might think.
How,
Go ahead, yeah.
why don't you just come in here and say, I want to put in a mobile home park?
Well, and all, again, I live here. I don't want anybody to think we slid 5 FEMA mobile home trailers in there and hid it from you. So in all fairness.
Nobody cares if they're paying their rent. I mean, right?
There are, again, globally, there are some concerns about knock, the federal government's here.
Right.
We are private locals. And if you ask me, will there be a shop for a FEMA trailer to be there? Yes, there is a shop to do that. And again, I didn't want to hide behind the fact that that might happen. And I wanted to be able to look every one of you in the eyes and say, yeah, that is a FEMA trailer. FEMA did call and they asked for 2 pad sites. And
But I mean, if they rent a spot, they rent a spot. We don't care who rents a spot.
yeah, I think some of the conversations where people were afraid there was gonna be a FEMA site built, and then post-recovery, it would just forever be like this forgotten wasteland of a mobile home park. That's
Have
not-
any of y'all seen this place?
I know where
It's
it's
just,
at.
yeah, it's woody right now.
Is there any way we could look at it?
Yeah, if you wanna walk through the woods.
I don't care.
One
You see
one
it
more
every day.
question.
See it every day. Drive past it every day. Yeah, it's the woods down there.
It
We'll go down
will,
there Wednesday.
when you drive by Slow Play, just envision Slow Play added.
No, I know all
to
that
Fort Road.
country
It would
right
just
there.
look just like that.
So is it gonna be where all the trucks are parked or up on top?
It's up on high ground. It's like 20 feet higher than the yard.
I know,
And
I
it's-
know where it is.
There's a second highway access right there. So it's got its own entrance and its own exit separate from the truck yard, and the truck yard would be peeled off and the mobile home park would be up on high ground.
I have one more question. Is this going to be for the victims of the flood and the fire? Or anybody can come in from anywhere and say they need a home?
So I'll answer 2 questions at the same time. One, you didn't ask, but it was asked earlier. With regards to rates and everything like that, this is a perfect time for a mobile home park to jack their rates up to 600, 800, 1,000. We're gonna keep ours low, and we're gonna take them first come, first serve. There is no, we've got waiting lists of people, 30 people who want.
From this area?
As
Of the
far, I did
victims.
not question every one of them, are you from Rio? So 95% of them flood fire victims for this neighborhood. And there's probably 5% of the people who are simply living at their mom's house and they want their own house. I mean, this is a combination of flood fire victim plus people just looking for an affordable option in this
So
community.
it's for anybody.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm with Counselor Proctor, unless you guys got something else.
I move to approve the planning zoning case 2024 P10, request for PDU development to allow for mobile home park to be placed on the property located at 26,482 US Highway 70, Riddle Downs, New Mexico 88346, located on a PUD district.
I'll second that motion.
Can we get a roll call on this item?
Can we get a number? How many number of trailers we're gonna put there?
60.
Right now, he's asking for 60.
And I'll submit to the building and all the permits prior to any building. And so that would also go to you for review. Most likely in final engineering, it'll be approximately 60 pending setbacks and all that. I've got to add 7% green space. That all goes into final engineering. And that would be submitted to the city of Rio Dos Downs prior to.
So we're gonna approve this without the plans?
They got approved to build it before they start spending the money to get it all engineered in. Then that's got to come back, and anything else that goes into it, he has to go before Luther with it. And then it'll come back to us, but everything, all the permits and everything have to go through P and Z right here.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Counselor Proctor,
Aye.
Counselor Miller,
All right.
Counselor Faber.
Aye.
Counselor Lacewa.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor, council, thank you very much.
One question before you leave, Mr. Leonard. Racetrack,
Yes, sir.
is it gonna turn into just a quarter horse racetrack next
No,
year?
sir, it's not allowed. So
Good.
let's pretend I'm not in the inner circle for a second. No.
Okay,
Track
that's,
will, there's contracts in place, publicly speaking.
they gotta rebuild the track like it was.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell Rick I said hello.
Yes, sir.
All right, counselors, I want to call for a 10-minute break. I think some of us getting tired, some of us need a 10-minute break.
Better call.
This
See if-
See you in 10 minutes.
see if Wayne's
This
taking care
public
of it.
hearing for 2 in a row is just kicking our
I
butts.
know it. I've been up at 5.
Convene the meeting. And it is 12 minutes till 8. And we'll go to new business. Item A under new business is Green Tree Solid.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Move the minutes to new business.
How
They're
big?
under regular items, so we have to discuss the minutes now.
Yeah, I mean, it's-
Oh, yeah.
Well, new business.
Yes,
Yeah, except we had
we had, a request to move the minutes to a regular item.
Lacewell wanted to move some of it around.
Right, and so Mayor, are you ready for a motion for the minutes?
Yeah, we are.
All right, I move that we open discussion and possible action on what to do with this list of minutes that we've been carrying around.
Councilor Isbell, if I may,
Yeah.
if we've been trying to figure out how best to get this for the record, I'm not talking about your minutes yet, but on our motions, I think a motion to approve, and then, you can have discussion on that. Well, what we've been doing is we have motion for discussion and possible action, and then we don't always reflect that it's a motion to approve or a motion to adopt. So, I think it will be clearer for the record if you make a motion to approve those minutes that you're talking about, and that opens it up for discussion. Is that okay?
And then the roll call is what calls it, if it's denied or approved or disapproved, but you can always amend within the discussion. And each minute has to be discussed separately, so you would make a motion to say postpone October 15th workshop minutes. Second, and then you have discussion and then roll call. And if you want to in between, you can. I think this is a lot more complicated than that. So you're suggesting then that there's a half a dozen different minutes here
Yes,
to
ma'am.
discuss, and we're gonna do half a dozen different motions?
Are you gonna
No,
try,
it's
try
for,
to discuss?
it's for every meeting. So October 15th, you'll have a motion for that.
Well, that's what she's saying.
We've already
Is that-
passed those
is that-
two.
Did you want to discuss them
They're examples.
Oh,
in mass?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, then maybe what we should do is have a motion to approve the minutes, blah, blah, blah. We've discussed the entire.
Discuss it then.
Yeah.
That's what he's asking.
And I can't make a motion to not approve.
Well, you can make a motion to approve and then it would be voted down.
vote in, yeah.
We still vote on it, yes or no. Excuse me, John. We still vote. It's just like I read a while ago. If we decided we didn't want that, all I had to do is say no. The same thing with this here.
And,
We
and
make a motion to approve or motion to pass. And if you don't want to pass it at that time, then you say no.
Just like we done this one.
Right. Well, my motion was to discuss and possibly approve. the minutes.
and I think it's gonna be simpler and clearer if we make a motion to approve those minutes and then have a discussion on it.
Okay, and so the way they're written, like right now,
But we gotta have to have a motion first.
all right, I would like to make a motion that we
Approved.
approve the minutes from February 26th, March 25th, April 22nd, May 29th, July 22nd, August 6th, and September 23rd.
Second.
Discussion?
I'd like to,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, counselors, I wrote a letter to John, so now I'm gonna read it to you, but my issue with the minutes is there's a consistent pattern of less than accurate transcriptions for the permanent record. There are frequent errors in spelling and punctuation each month when spoken words are transcribed into written form, but this is not my main point. I take exception to the errors, omissions, and substitutions of words which change the meaning of a statement. And I provided an example at the bottom of my email to Mr. Underwood. The current antiquated manner in which the minutes are being transcribed from audio to written version is inadequate, and it doesn't allow accuracy. The individual who's doing the transcribing apparently can't hear or discern words being said. Just because the person responsible for the transcription of the minutes did not understand what was said, doesn't not mean it wasn't said. In the example that I provided to Mr. Underwood, the transcriber heard partially when he said part and partial. And you can see below in his this example that I gave, that some of the corrections were incorporated into the text, but not everything was corrected. And the transcriber is presenting her interpretations of what was said based on her own limitations, as well as the limitations of her equipment. The YouTube videos are the only factual version of the meetings available to me and to the citizens. And when those are deleted at the end of 2 years, the written minutes will be the only permanent record of what was said. And especially in the case of public hearings, they must be accurate. The clerk's office provides a draft, and by state statute, the city council is responsible to determine if the minutes will be approved, amended, or disapproved. If the clerk's office refuses to amend and correct the minutes because of one person's failure to understand what is said, then I don't see any other option than to say disapproved to our minutes. So in this particular example, and John, can you clarify? Did you say watchdog?
No, I agreed with with what you said.
Okay.
Where I think we may be failing ourselves, is that, and I went to the AG's, ruling on open minutes to try and give me some perspective on it, to see if there was any other language. And what the AG's saying is that this only means that minutes must contain a description of the subject of all discussions had by the body, even if no action was taken or considered. The description may be a concise but accurate statement of the subject matter discussed and does not have to be a verbatim account of who said what, of who said what. It may be useful, although not required, to also record in the minutes the other persons invited or present who participate in the deliberations. And what I was pointing out is that by us requiring that everything be verbatim, we basically are basically Selena's, all of her time now is taken up trying to do these minutes. So, and Selena will be out for the next
90 days.
period of time on maternity leave.
90 days.
So, we're gonna have to go out for an RFP for a stenographer, court reporter, or something, if y'all want to continue verbatim minutes. I asked Ally if there was like an alternative, and I guess perhaps I think the concern is that you want to make sure that that record is preserved.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of the minutes at the city council meeting is not to have a verbatim account. Otherwise, every city would be having the same problem that we're having. No, we said such and such. You'd have to have a court reporter taking down the stenographic notes and then bringing it back to you. We don't have the facilities, we don't have the equipment to do that. So if that's what you want to have, maybe what you could get is a thumb drive of the video recording and preserve. That's your concern, was that the video recording goes away after 2 years. Well, the thumb drive doesn't go away after 2 years. So if there's a point that you want to prove sometime, somewhere about something, you still have that right. But the only purpose of the minutes is to give the idea that this took place and they voted on this and this was the vote. It's not to have every word correct.
I agree. And so at my very first Molly training, which was April of 2022, I came back to the meeting and talked to Ally and Selena and said, we don't have to do the minutes verbatim. According to what the attorney said at this training, is you want them to do them in there.
Right.
And I agree that's how they should be. So the only time that I've ever asked for anything verbatim is if I had a statement that I wanted preserved in the minutes, I would ask my statement verbatim. I've never asked that the whole meeting be verbatim. Unfortunately, many of our meetings are public hearings, and you indicated that
Public hearing needs to be as good a verbatim account as what you can have. You've got to preserve your record.
as accurate as possible.
And I agreed with you in my response to you.
I haven't seen that.
They're not required to be verbatim.
I know, but I
But
believe
requested,
that,
yeah.
I believe that it's best to have a public hearing this first.
Okay, so that being said, what is presented in the minutes is not accurate. And I spent hours listening to.
Is it only public hearings that
I'm just talking about, I've looked at the minutes and the minutes say what the minutes say. I didn't decide what was going to be in the minutes.
I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm asking you, have we been producing minutes verbatim when there wasn't a request by council to do them verbatim?
Not that I'm aware of.
That's what I'm hearing Council Lacewell say.
I've asked,
Yes, sir.
I've heard Council Lacewell ask verbatim, and I've heard you ask for verbatim.
I do, I'm public hearing.
Right, okay, I'm just saying, that's what I've heard. I've never asked for it, okay? Because my feelings on it are, and Council Lacewell, I'm stealing your floor for a second, is that if the person doing it understands it's that way, and that's the best we can do, the best we can get, then that's the best we got. Okay, that's the way I look at it. Now, if it says dog and pony shown, and she says doggy, that's her interpretation of it. Is that the interpretation of this whole council? No. I would like to see, not verbatim, but if it says BS, then BS is in the statement. But it's not to the point to where I don't know what I'm looking for here. I like it to be a little bit more accurate than what it is.
And I appreciate that, but how do we get there from here? I mean, we've chewed up basically all the time that Selena has devoted to this for the last 3 months, trying to get it right, and nobody's satisfied. And the only thing I know to do is to
Then
go
do
out for an RFP for court.
Do the bare minimum that the state requires then.
That's exactly what I'm suggesting.
And that's.
Do the bare statement. That means there's nothing in there what we say.
Was present, they moved this, they voted this, done.
Right. The only thing that I would stipulate on that we get put on the agenda to have all the videos put on a flash drive and put back, because you can put all kinds of stuff on a little flash drive. I know that. I'm not a computer expert. I talked to Ally today about that. And a flash drive can hold 3 or 4, just depending on what kind you get. And we can preserve that for a longer period of time. That's what I'd go with on recommendation for that.
Fair resolution.
We're saving all those minutes, they're saved. Not within.
And what they're asking for is that they be put on flash drive.
Yeah.
Permanent record.
Just, and that be it, just,
But they're served within, they're saved within the server. So
I understand,
Yeah.
but as I recall, the server goes away after 2 years.
not the server, YouTube does,
Okay.
yes.
I think what they're gonna be more comfortable with, Ally, is that they have a flash drive of the meetings, the video flash drive, and then we
Okay.
preserve that.
All right,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
so and I think it would be easier on Selena, it'd be easier on her, it'd be easier on everybody else around. All you gotta do.
We've been fussing and fighting about this for 6 months. It's time to move on.
I paid
Well,
for a flash
sure.
drive in 21,
Let us get on the agenda and do something about it then.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I paid for a flash drive in 21. And it was taken out of my bag. And then I got another one and there was nothing on it.
Well,
Yeah,
All I can do is say, let's put it on a flash drive, and then if you want
Yeah.
to take it home and see if it's there, and if it's not there, bring it back and have it done. I don't know what else to do.
I don't either. But are we gonna pay for them every time we want a flash drive?
It's on YouTube. You can take your own flash drive, got a computer, so plug it in there and download it.
Right.
You
Okay,
got it.
then we don't have to pay for it.
Right.
Well, if you wanna, if you come in and ask them for it, probably gonna cost
Yeah.
$15, $20.
But you can go buy a flash drive
Mhm.
and record the darn thing, and then you've got it.
Okay.
And then whether or not it's Watchdog and this committee or that committee, at the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference to the context of the discussion, because all we really need to do is record our votes, our motions and our votes.
Right. So
Other than, and I will say this, other than public hearings, I think it's important to have public hearings.
for the month of
I'm
May,
sorry. Feel that.
for the month of May, I did not request that that my comments be verbatim, but they showed up that way and they showed up wrong. I know what I
I
said.
think then what we could do is back that out and go back to the bare minimum and I appreciate the fact that you're not satisfied with that. I get that. And then if it's gonna reflect what you said, you want it to reflect what you said. So why don't we go back out and just redo those minutes in a bare minimum and let them do flash drives of the minutes?
I would propose that the minutes that I've already corrected, and I've spent a lot more time than Selena did getting them where they were, correcting them, where she can't hear, and I don't know why she can't hear, that you said what you said, but you know you said what you said. I've sent the corrections in, and they've picked and choose what corrections they want to make.
My understanding is that she listened again to it and she accepted those corrections that she thought was correct
Right,
and rejected those corrections that she did not think were correct.
but,
That's my understanding.
okay, so.
But at the end of the day, it's, I understand that there's a trust issue going on. But at the end of the day, she's the city clerk and she's the one that has to be trusted to do these. And as I told you at the last meeting, if you don't agree with what she hears, then the statutes say, make a record of that. Say, I disagree with this for the following reasons. And you can preserve your objections to what it was that was approved.
Right, and so back in the April meeting, I made a motion that we would approve March 25th, subject to my corrections, and that they would go through and look at the corrections. And that was seconded and voted on. Then I made a motion that, another on that same day, that the February 26th meeting would be subject to the corrections that I would make in red. So I didn't even give those to the city clerk and secretary. And they're not on this list. They have never been approved. So we need to approve February 26th, March 25th, April 22nd, May 29th, July 22nd, August 26th, and September 23rd. And I feel that if they won't correct them to the correction, regardless of what Selena heard or can't hear or doesn't understand, the corrections are correct. And if you want to send a committee to sit through and listen to those minutes compared to the videos, that's one thing. Why can't they just take the corrections? Why does it have to be?
Because they have to, because it's their job.
Legally, we can't. We have to put on paper what we heard.
Okay,
That's
and-
what we heard, that's what we heard.
And
If you were
so
the city
after-
clerk, then that would be your job.
Right.
But you're
but
not the
so
city clerk.
I offered to do the corrections and submit them to them. So what they're saying is, we see your corrections.
And we
You
accept
agree?
part of them and we don't accept part of them.
Right, okay, so in that, it would be my recommendation that we disapprove all of these minutes. We can't approve them wrong.
My recommendation is what we stated a while ago. We can beat this horse and beat this horse till it gets up and runs off and falls down. We beat it again. Okay? And I'm so damn tired of trying to correct somebody else's mistakes. The flash drive would be the best. That would solve everything, because then if you wanted to see it exactly, it's on
Flash drive.
the flash drive and see the video and everything, you plug it in, you download it, and you can hear what's being said. You can watch what goes across the bottom of the screen. I appreciate what you're doing, Counselor. I do. I do, but we're not getting anywhere with it, and we're beating this dead horse. And now then we got another one coming in and we're fixing to beat it again. So I'm just saying, start with what we recommended, the minimum that we need in the minutes, flash drive the rest. And the clerk would have to flash drive it.
Okay, and so
Off of,
start from when? Start from today?
Start this meeting right now.
Okay, so what about February, March, April, May?
That's,
Can I jump in?
go ahead. I rest.
No, this is my suggestion. Is because if we disapprove them, as you know, none of this is official, right?
Right.
So all the important thing at the end of the day that happens at a council meeting is either approval or non-approval of an item on the agenda, okay? And all of the discussion is all the discussion, but at the end of the day, all that's really important future to happen is you either approve the item or you didn't approve it. So I would suggest, because you're dissatisfied, and I don't know how else to do this, is that you allow Selena or somebody to go back into these meetings and do a bare minimum of these meetings to approve those at the next meeting, and that all of those meetings will exist on for you to put on flash drive. Because otherwise, we're just gonna keep arguing.
How then, Counselor, as a lawyer,
Mhm.
how then, when we go to court, because we've got this case against the mayor and we bring up these bare minimum minutes,
You have your flash drive.
and the judge will entertain that?
Yes.
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 Point of
We have that
order,
before.
right here, real quick. when you go into court, they have a court recorder, and she is trained to sit there and hit them little buttons.
But what does that have to do with the?
But she's
Okay.
asking about the introduction into evidence of the flash drive.
This is what I'm talking about.
And so the courts take flash drives all the time as evidence.
And if they want them transcribed, then they have recorded.
Because it's like the record that I'm having to do on appeal on the Sorensen case. The record on appeal is on a flash drive, sending that to the court.
Oh, good. So they'll get it accurate.
Then will the city keep this flash drive since
Yes, and the server, they're in the server. The server is for life.
since the YouTube ones go away?
Yes.
And that's our record, and we can check on them and check them out if I don't make
For
it,
2 years. and you-
make it on my own.
Flash drive, yes, you can keep them up for whenever, however many years you want.
Mayor,
Well, the city clerk was nodding, she's in agreement with what Counselor Proctor said to solve the problem.
Well, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we can't keep going down this road and kicking the same can. I mean, it's never gonna happen, okay? I say something and you hear it a different way. They say something, I hear it a different way. As long as we understand what we're talking about. But now when you start reading something, okay, partially or parcel is completely different, but it's the way you hear it. And if you say it fast or partial, I can understand that. Not all the time, but I can understand it. I just want to get a remedy to this. I'm not saying that anybody's wrong here. I think there's a better way to do it. And we need to try a better way to do it.
Mayor,
Can I ask one question?
Yes, first
I
time.
have a question for Ally. So Ally, if I wanted a flash drive with a meeting from October of 22,
Okay,
you could get that for me off the server?
yes, everything's saved.
Okay, so no question. So the second question is, would it be easier for Selena to accept my corrections and print them? Or would it be easier for you to delete them and start over?
Delete them and start over because I can't take your word for it. We have to go off of what we heard.
Counselor
Your
Baylor.
word against our word.
I watch
It's
TV
just
every,
like
every
he
night.
Good.
Explained it, you can hear one thing and we can hear another thing.
Do you listen to YouTube or something else?
Both. We have YouTube and the recording.
We're saying the same thing
The
over
same
and over. Counselor.
What, I mean, I watch TV every night, like I read half what they're saying. Does this not do that?
No,
Closed caption, it does.
We
it
can't,
doesn't do it correctly. You tested it.
Y'all would have to spend a lot of money
Yes,
to get that
we
done.
tested it.
oh, no, I'm just asking.
We even have a transcriber through Zoom and it doesn't transcribe it correctly. We've tested it. I can show you. You're more than welcome to stop by.
It's about 80% correct. And the stuff that doesn't come through, you can listen to it.
Flash
That's
drive.
part of the reason that the state did it the way they did it. It's because of this.
Exactly.
The state- Oh, by
What the
making it,
law says, just get down to the bare nuts of the meeting and because otherwise, I mean, you all
We'll be here
counselors,
forever.
you all care about what you're doing. There's some politics, some policies in it, but it matters to you. Well, we can parse words forever and that's what's happened. But the only thing that's necessary in the minutes is the bare minimum of saying this motion was made, this discussion was had, and this motion passed. And you move on. Otherwise, it's just crazy.
well, and I've been surprised at how much stuff they're putting in these minutes that haven't been requested to be verbatim.
Well, that's all of our mistake. But we won't do it again.
So one more question for the clerk, Mayor. How long would it take Selena, provided she doesn't go into labor, to redo February, March?
She's
April,
gone
May,
Friday, not to interrupt you, but Friday's her last.
July, August and September.
Well, February is not on the table. Only
Well,
September.
it is sort of on the table.
So
So,
it has to be on the agenda to be able to discuss it.
right, but the
So
April,
if you would like
us to put February on the next agenda, that's a request you can make. But what's on the table today is September 23rd, August 26th, July 22nd, May 29th, and April 22nd.
And when you look at April 22nd, you'll see that a motion was made for February and March to be corrected.
That's correct, but it's not on the table today.
Well, so that's an error. That's not my fault that it's not there.
No, it was approved. If it was approved, you would have put it on the next agenda unless requested.
February 26th and March 25th
Let's see,
were
here we
never
go.
approved. They were never.
I
Okay, so
suggest,
what's on the table today is September through April. And what I suggest is what John suggested. Go ahead and
And
go
the
back.
question is, how long would that take? Let's just say that we'll bring those back to you at the next meeting.
That's in 2 weeks.
Hope so.
I'll try.
That's
Because
a
Selena's
lot.
gone April 1st.
Bring them back to you. as soon as
November,
possible.
sorry, November 1st. What am I thinking? I was thinking of
We'll
April.
bring them back
November
first.
1st.
Bring it
I
on.
can.
Now, that's realistic.
That's
2 weeks is probably not realistic.
Yeah.
Let's just say that we have no reason to drag our feet on it, and we will do it as quickly as we possibly can.
So, and let's leave it open to see maybe at the end of November rather than the beginning of November.
And then I can add February.
Okay,
There you go.
okay, Ally, thank you.
and I
Okay,
suggest
so-
from now on,
February
Yeah.
20.
It's February
we
26th.
approve
and
our
March
minutes and
21.
amend them at the next meeting, after every meeting.
To what?
I think we should approve our minutes at the next meeting after we read them in the agenda. And if there's amendments to be made, we make it then,
Well, that's what we're
instead of carrying-
supposed to be doing.
instead of carrying on and on and on.
I still think a flash drive is the answer. That's
Does somebody want to make a motion?
I did make a motion. I made a motion that we approve the minutes, but the motion needs to be restated.
Amended.
I would, Mayor, is it all right if I make a motion?
Yes.
Oh, I move that we allow the city clerk's office to amend the minutes for February 26th, March 25th, April 22nd, May 29th, July 22nd, August 26th, September 23rd, to the standards required by the state, and have them prepared for us by the end of November at the city council meeting on the 4th Monday of November.
I second that motion.
And
And
flash drives.
I don't care about flash drives.
Oh.
I just don't care. I can make my own, and I have.
She does. We're
I
not.
do. I want to make sure the city keeps them.
Time out. Please, okay. I'm sorry, I'm stepping on your toes here, Chair. My suggestion was the city clerks do the flash drives. If you want a flash drive, come and pay $20 or $15 for it. If you have a way of doing it at home on a computer, then you can download it yourself for free and keep them until hell freezes over.
Right, and they're in the server. I just asked her if I could get something from 2022, and she said, yeah.
Right.
So we don't need flash drives, and so I don't want that part of the motion.
Never mind.
Well,
We can pick them up here and pay for them. Is that what
We
you
have a
said?
second.
I just seconded.
Okay.
Okay.
Counselor Proctor,
Aye.
Counselor Miller,
Aye.
Counselor Weaver.
Aye.
Counselor Baker.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Ali, are we ready to go to?
New business,
B.
letter A.
Yeah,
Green
I'm
tree,
sorry.
yeah.
Cross-eyed, I ain't got my glasses.
And Mayor, may I make that motion
For what?
for the green tree?
Are y'all ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it.
Do it.
Okay, I move that we discuss the Green Tree Solid Waste Authority new pickup dates for the city of Ruidoso Downs / files. And is this something we want to approve? Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay, so I move that we approve the Green Tree Solid Waste Authority new pickup dates for the city of Ruidoso Downs / files.
Second.
Okay, we talked, excuse me, Mayor, we talked about this with WG and the lady from this, and if my notes are correct, discussion of Green Tea Solid Waste Services of the city of Red Oaks Down / piles, 8 to 10 weeks, and they moved it back to the later part of the year.
And it's listed here that it would be on
November through.
March.
Sure, works for me.
No, y'all put it on me and I'm just,
No, that's fine. We already
Okay.
discussed this.
That was the purpose of the workshops. This was our intent when we asked this, is we could discuss it at the workshop, come and slam, vote on it and be done.
Good.
So the motion was made and seconded.
You ready?
Roll
Counselor
call.
Miller,
Aye.
Counselor Proctor,
Aye.
Counselor Lakeland,
Aye.
Counselor Baber.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next item under new business is item B. Resolution 2024-21. A resolution establishing the City of Redosa Downs governing body regular council meetings and workshop meetings.
I'll make a motion to resolution 2024-21 approval to establish the City of Redosa Downs governing body, regular council meetings and workshops with a slight amendment. We have Wednesday instead of Tuesdays because the P and Z meets on, the court meets on Tuesday evening, so we can't block them. So we'll go to the Wednesday. Next change will be down where it says 72 days. We now say 72 hours.
What are we talking
Resolution.
This is our,
It's a resolution.
the resolution
about?
2024-21.
No.
I've got, and this coincides with the one that we printed up last time. And I made the changes. The last time it says the next business day. Tuesday would be the next business day. The
Oh.
courts are on Tuesday.
Okay, so we're changing
Change it
it
to
to
Wednesday.
not be the.
Right, so we go on Wednesday.
Okay.
And that would move the economic development, if we go on a Wednesday, to the Thursday. We'd have, because we can't have both of them at the same
And that's
time.
just regarding.
Right, and then the next, if you go down, it just reads that any time within 72 days, we'd never have a meeting.
Yeah.
So we change, I mean, it's a typographical error, 72 hours. And a
Okay.
quorum of the governing body is required. The rest of it is as we wrote it.
Good catch on the 72 days.
Question? On the, and I'm not sure of this, so I'm just throwing it open. I was concerned about the language that says may conduct 2 city council open meetings at 5:30 on the second and fourth Monday.
And that was highly intentional, John.
I understand, I understand that, but I'm concerned about the Open Meetings Act. So I think you're required to say when the meetings are for sure, so the public is aware of that. Is it-
Okay, if we post it 72 hours prior, if we come in and tell the city clerk,
I think you can cancel.
huh?
Yeah, take it
I think you can cancel. What we've done in the past, we've canceled, but I think you should, for the public's knowledge, I think it needs to say shall have 2 meetings per month.
And that's what I had, but for, Ms.
For me.
Well, and per you, she stated that you said to change it to May.
You said that we could use the word may, specifically regarding the
Well, that
workshop.
Discussion, but
Shall.
Okay, what I'm trying to
I
say,
think
John,
it's proper to say shall because of the fact that the public has to know when they are. Then if you cancel it,
Yeah.
you can do that with your 72-hour notice. I think it's confusing as a matter of public. Well, we may have a meeting, we may not. I think you're much better off saying we shall have these meetings at this time on the second and fourth Mondays with the provisions that you have. And then if you don't have enough business, then you can cancel that. My experience of being here for however long I've been here is that there's always business at every meeting that we have. But if you need to cancel one, sometimes like in November or December, we end up having one meeting related to Thanksgiving and Christmas. But my preference, so that we don't run into a problem with Open Meetings Act, and if I said that, I apologize, but I think that it would cause a problem with Open Meetings Act compliance.
I've spent quite a bit of time today perusing statutes, trying to find this type of wording and whether it's mandated, and I can't find it. Can you?
If you want to do it that way, and we're not in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, just understand that I advise you that I think it shall be shall.
So would it be okay with you if we leave the wording where it is now until you can find someplace in the state statutes where it has to say shall?
You may.
All right.
if we don't call that meeting, it's just like if we adjourn right now and then we call a special meeting, it's the same difference.
Those
We
special
call-
meetings- special
if we
meetings are
call-
something that-
I made that as an example. What I'm getting at is, if we want to call, it could be called by the counselors or called by the mayor, that we have a workshop. Okay, a 72-hour notice of an open act meeting is all that's required from everything that I've read. Now, I think I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to stand up and say I'm wrong. We don't call it, then it's not gonna happen. And it's posted plenty of time for everybody to know it and see it, because we turn it in on Monday, 10 o'clock. They usually have it out by Tuesday. So
Let me
that's,
ask you this, what is the argument for saying may rather than shall?
So we're not locked in. If we would rather have a workshop on the fourth Tuesday than a meeting, we're not.
may I get up and leave the classroom? Yes, you may.
Joey, what you got?
Just,
Mayor, members of council,
Tired.
all of our grants, our DFA, everything goes off the calendar that shows we have a second and fourth meeting every month.
That's what I was gonna say.
So like when a grant agreement comes in, it already says the second Monday, we do this, then they're gonna be calling me, they're calling, when y'all's meeting this month, cause you,
If we do it May, then I don't have to attach a calendar.
right, it's just easier.
And I don't have to post a cancellation. If we do it shall, I post it with a calendar and everybody knows when it is because it's shall. And I have to post cancellation when it's canceled.
then do with May then. I'd vote on that right now. Do it with May.
So no cancel.
May.
Oh,
May.
No, I think what Joy just said is that you need to do it with shall.
I need to have 2 meetings a month. I need that.
I want 2
definite
meetings that we
line to
vote
give
on a
out to
month.
DFA and everybody.
That's what I
So you can have a calendar to present to DFA.
I don't want to try to come to a workshop that didn't work before, Joy, okay?
No, it's
And
just for the regular meeting.
Just
It's
the
this one
regular
right here.
meetings.
It's this one right here.
What?
Just the
That
second
we're
and
talking
fourth.
about
The workshops can say May,
for the
but
regular.
not the regular meetings.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe-
just the
yes,
workshop.
that's
Yeah,
what
Yeah.
we had talked about
Yes, we don't have.
in the last meeting.
Workshop.
To bring it shall, you will have 2 meetings.
That's
correct?
what I,
Second and fourth Monday.
Workshops is May. You can.
It's just.
Yes.
You don't have
Okay,
to have-
that's all I
I
wanted. We
want
don't have to have a
definitely 2
workshop
meetings.
unless we decide to call it. That's it. I'm done.
So can you, go ahead and do your motion again?
Just amend your motion to
And do your
change the
motion.
word may to shall.
I'll make a motion to change the word may to shall for the regular meetings on the second and fourth Monday of each month. In the Hubbard Room, however, when that Monday is a city holiday, that meeting will be held on the following Wednesday.
And then, 72 hours.
And
Yeah.
to adjust the 72 days to 72 hours of notice, and a quorum governing the body will be required to hold these workshops.
Second?
I'll second it. Oh, did you?
No, you, Judy.
Roll call.
Counselor Latham.
Hi.
Counselor Baber.
Aye.
Counselor Miller.
Aye.
Counselor Proctor.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item C on a new business. Resolution 2024-22. A resolution approving the budget adjustment request
Forgot that one.
for the first quarter of the 2024 fiscal year.
And Miss Mary is on the phone.
Okay. Mary, are you there?
Good evening. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
We can.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Before you is a resolution for the first quarter budget adjustment that were needed to post all of the grant monies and the expenditures that were changed from the final budget to the first quarter reporting. Would you like me to go over the pages and what they are?
Counselor Bailey, did you want her to go?
Yeah. All right, just a minute, Mary.
Okay, go ahead.
So confusing.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, would
So
you
on-
like to make a motion before we discuss?
Need to make a motion to approve.
All right, Mary, may I do that?
No, I would appreciate it.
I move that we approve resolution 2024-22, a resolution approving the budget adjustment request for the first quarter of the 2025 fiscal year.
Second. A second. Oh, did you second it, WG?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All these.
Okay, so do you want me to discuss?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so on page 1 is the federal grant monies reimbursement that is coming in for the money we spent last year. This is for the parking lot down by the senior center. So we turned in all of our, not all of them, but a lot of them for reimbursement right at the end of the year. The reimbursement didn't come in until this fiscal year. So the budget adjustment looks flayed because we've already spent most of the money. And now we're sitting for reimbursement. So you have a larger amount coming in for reimbursement than we do going out. So that is on page 1. And then if you go down to page 2, I can get there. No, it doesn't want to scroll for me. Sorry, guys, I'm having technical difficulties. I've been waiting. My computer froze.
I am too. This is all run together.
Can I read it to you, Mary?
Okay, I can see him now. Sorry. So on the top of page 2 is the money that Joey applied for, road grants. And I have combined 2 grants into the 2 lines. The first line is the revenue coming in. The second line is the expenditure going out. And then the other 2 lines below here, if you guys remember, you approved Joey using the $150,000 emergency contingency fund monies for the flood, what he needed to use. So when we approved the final budget, all that was in there was the revenue that was going to go in, which is the $50,000. There were no expenses set up to spend anything at that point in time. When Joey went before you and you guys approved those expenditures, I had to go in and move money into line to cover the cost of the $150,000 you gave him permission to use. Now, I'm sure you guys are aware, and if you're not aware, in between that request for using the money, the AC unit broke that was connected to the PD and the court. And of course, there was no money in their budget, either one, to cover the cost of that. So as soon as that unit was broken and they had to purchase it, I reached out to Joey and asked him if it would be possible if we could use the $8,000 to cover the cost of that unit. And he said, absolutely. So it was brought to my attention that since you guys had already approved the money for Joey to use, it needed to go before you for approval of that payment for the AC unit, which is why on this page you see 2 different lines. You see the 8143 and then the balance of the 150 going out into capital and park improvements. And I put it there because I'm not exactly sure where Joey needs that money. I know that he has about $1 million worth of damage down at the Riverside Park, so I put it there so I knew where it was. Do you guys have any questions?
So Mary, just to be clear, this is just a placeholder. It's not necessarily where the money's going to be spent.
Correct. I'm just setting now, the 8143 has been spent because the unit was repaired or replaced. I'm sorry.
And I guess I need to ask Joey. None of this 141 has been spent yet.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
What we're gonna look at reimbursing, like we spent a ton of money in fuel,
Right.
our generators at the racetrack, other places. So at some point, we're gonna have to reimburse our funds because we're going to.
Sure.
So that will go places like that, but me and Mary haven't had time to sit down yet and go over it, so
Will any of this go to overtime?
Hopefully will, because we got overtime that's upside down on overtime.
Right. And that's emergency.
Yes, and so we will, but we need to use that money to take care of the now. If there's a problem now, I'm not worried about that part later on to balance our stuff.
Okay, thank you, John.
Yes,
Mary, Counselor Proctor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you asking us to approve this resolution 2024 for approving the budget adjustments request. I have a request. Where is our audit?
So I have been working for the past 3 weeks diligently with the auditors to get this thing finished. So I have been on the phone with them every single day working. I will go in tomorrow and start again. Hopefully they are near the end. I have, and everybody in that office can attest to you that I have been doing nothing but working on audit.
Well, Joey,
I'm sorry, Counselor Proctor. I can only give you the information that I have.
okay.
And I am in touch with them on a daily basis.
Okay, and I can take it for granted then that we're not gonna use this audit company again. Because we're a year late getting this thing turned in. We're going into November.
Correct.
We're going into November and the Public Works Director should already have his money to buy the equipment that he got in a capital outlay, and we're fixing to lose that.
We still got it until the audit turns in.
But the audit's been late since July.
City Clerk.
Mary, do you have any idea why they're requesting for the same documents they already requested for?
I do not. I know that Debbie has told me that she has gone through the same staffing issues that we've gone through. She doesn't have staffing. They've been merged into a larger company. They're requiring different steps and different spreadsheets, and whatever information they were given between the transfer, the turnover of her staffing issues, just like ours, has caused her to have to go back and redo a lot of the set paperwork and documentation. So I am making that my priority. I am putting everything else to the side so that I can get her what she needs so that we can get this done.
So Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Council Proctor again, Mary, we should already be looking and started for the 23-24 fiscal year, and we're
Correct.
way behind the game ball on that. So this is not making us
Correct.
look good. This is not making us look good to the state when we turn stuff like this in late.
Okay, what do you suggest, sir? I'm doing the very best that I can.
Put some boots on, go to Las
do-
Cruces and kick some ass.
I mean, it's been since January. What are they telling you?
They are working on it. And I've been on the phone with them every single day. Even on my days off, I'm on the phone with them.
Can I have the
Trying to get
that
them the
lady, please?
information.
Yeah, can they be fired?
And they're asking for the same information we already provided them.
Oh, God.
I will give you, if you come see me in the morning, I will give you her contact information.
Councilor Leachman.
I have a question for Mary. Mary, since this isn't our fault, is the state giving us any slack at all?
No, the audit is late.
But
It's late. It'll be a finding because it's late.
Who pays the fine?
There is no fine, sir.
Oh, the funding. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
There is no fine.
But it could keep us from getting our grants.
Yep, sure.
Right, that's what.
And that's what's the sad part about it.
Everybody's happy. Let's vote on this thing.
Any motion?
Roll call. Counselor Baber,
Right.
Counselor Lakeland. Aye. Counselor Miller,
Aye.
Counselor Proctor.
Yep.
Motion carried.
Councilor Bader, would you,
We're adjourned.
Adjourned. Thank you. You do a good job with that.
You know, one of these days you're gonna say that, Mayor, and I'm gonna set. I'll make a motion to stay for another hour.